Greetings and salutations. You've successfully arrived at the Bloody Disgusting Network. The passage of time will now bring you to something strange, unique, and idiosyncratic. Have a good time.
My friendship to all of you precludes my involvement with any one of you. But if you wanna make love, then I do too, and I'll be right there behind you. All in the name of oh, all in the name of oh, all in the name of oh.
Greetings, constant listeners, and welcome to another episode of the Losers Club, a Stephen King podcast presented by Bloody FM, the number one horror podcast network in the world. I'm your host, Michael Monroeville Mall Rothman, and although my namesake happens to take place fairly close to Kennywood, the theme park that was used in Greg Mottola's delightful Adventureland, we're nowhere near the Pittsburgh area today. No. We're actually nowhere really near the average King's Dominion. We are heading down to North Carolina for a summer job at Joyland circa 1973. A time when Rod Stewart was still in Faces. Dark Side of the Moon was just then a cutting-edge new album, and moments could only be captured by Hollywood girls and their professional cameras. But it was also a time when local legends can flourish and remain mysterious enough to linger in our minds. And that's of major interest to us today as we try to unravel the eerie murder of Linda Gray, who may or may not be haunting this park's only dark ride, the Horror House. Fortunately, as always, I'm not alone. As I wait here in Miss Shoplaw's boarding house, I can see my fellow losers coming up to unpack before we hit the beach and the fairgrounds and discuss Stephen King's second hard case crime novel, Joyland. Coming in from Chicago, our first loser is really no stranger to this area. Justin, say hello and tell us not only the first time you visited Joyland, but your connection to the Carolinas.
Hey, this is Justin Juniper Hill Gerber, and I read Joyland. I can't remember if books 10 years ago were coming out on Tuesdays still, or if it was on Fridays. Or no, I'm getting music mixed up. Either way, I read this the weekend it came out. I read this pretty quick. I definitely enjoyed it. I didn't know a lot of people who had read it at that point either, which I'm sure you'll be getting into. But yeah, I've always enjoyed it. And I looked forward to rereading. I had forgotten a lot of it when I reread it. Maybe it's because I've read, like 1,000 books in the last 10 years.
I think so.
That'll probably do it for you. But yeah, North Carolina, a lot of my family lived in South Carolina and North Carolina, so we would visit a lot throughout the year. And then I moved there in 2003 and then went to Raleigh and went to NC State from 2007 to 2010. So yeah, very, very, what can I say? I'm a North Carolina alumni, as well as an NC State alumni. So some of these, he captured these, God, we use vibes a lot these days, don't we? But he did capture the vibe of North Carolina pretty well. Yeah. Granted, despite the fact that I am quite old, I was not alive in 1973, let alone old enough to remember 1973. But
you're 7 years removed at that point. You're just
7 years
on the way.
Yeah, well, this was removed from me, 1973. You're right.
Yeah. Well, we'll talk more about the Carolina experience.
Right, if you promise.
I do promise. I absolutely promise that we will. It is weird to think that you were reading this book up here in Chicago.
Yeah.
Like
this is 2013, right?
Yeah. So with 1122, I think we're already at the time where most of us were reading those books up here, knowing each other, but not knowing that we were going to be doing a Stephen King podcast. How about that?
Who knew?
I know. Well, our next loser looks a little sleepy, and she has good reason. She's coming all the way from Idaho, where I just know they have state fairs that likely rival Joyland. Rachel, say hello and tell us if this is your first time at Joyland and your best theme park experience.
Hey, this is Rachel, Team Beagle, Reeves. And this is not my first time at Joyland. I think this is my third time at Joyland. Similarly, I've talked about how kind of 11/22 was sort of my re-entry back into the Stephen King world. And so this kind of followed that. I didn't read it exactly when it came out, but pretty close to that. And then reread it a couple years ago. I think, well, oh God, time. It was probably 3 or 4 years ago. And then, yeah, again, obviously for this podcast. And I also listened to the audiobook, which is narrated by Michael Kelly. And is perfect. Like, I enjoyed that so much. So just a tip, if anybody like wants to listen to that, his voice is like, I enjoyed it so much. It was just perfect. He was the perfect choice. Also, like the Warriors, Coney Island, you know. So.
Yeah.
He did an audiobook for another King book recently, I think. Either an episode we just did or a book that has recently come out. I know that
probably Jen would know. Yeah. Our audiobook
Jen's the queen of the King audio listens, I should say.
Yeah. So it was a joy to revisit. And my best theme park experience, Idaho does indeed have some great fairs that really helped me like get in the mood for this. We have our like big, Western Idaho Fair, which is a pretty big multiple weeks long kind of thing with, you got the farm animals, the 4-H, you can go check out the prize cows and stuff and prize chickens. But then even in smaller towns, there's lots of small fairs. So I'm no stranger to the fair. And sometimes you get to see some great musical acts. I've seen Pat Benatar.
Oh, really?
At the fair. If you ever want to see like Journey.
Oh, I would love to see Journey.
Like bands that maybe would have been popular around this time period. They're hitting the fair circuits. So I've seen some fun music that way.
It's funny you mentioned mostly like 70s and 80s acts because that's how I cleaned up when I was in high school, was being able, like, I saw Kansas, I think, like 8 times.
Kansas is
always not in Kansas.
And it's free with your admission, so it's great.
Yeah. It's like, all right, I'll go check out and hear my favorite hits off of Point of No Return.
Absolutely.
All 2 of them.
Yeah, all 2 of them. It's funny because my dad, like, I was a bit, like, Cat Blackguard and I were, like, super Kansas fans to the point where, like, we, like, knew the fucking new albums when they dropped in like the aughts.
Really? I only know 2 songs by them.
I know. We were like really obsessed with them. And so we would be like almost groupies going to these random state fairs across Florida to all these shows. Like I remember one time we went to see Kansas and they were opening up for Yes. And Yes was awful that night. Just like fucking awful. And I was like, man, Kansas kind of blew them out of the water. And I just remember being so bored during the Yes headlining set because it was just like they didn't play anything off of their 80s stuff. It was mostly just all this new. It sounded like music that would be in like on like a DVD menu for like a Christian youth seminar or something like that. I was just like, get me out of here. Anyway.
Wait, you want to feel old? Do you want to hear who played last year? Smash Mouth, Spin
Rest in
Doctors.
Oh yeah,
Bush.
Oh,
so
great.
This is what age we are, you guys. These are the Kansas.
Those are the new Kansas.
Well, those are the 25-year-old bands, the 30-year-old bands,
Yeah.
Except that like, I guess Smash Mouth is like the Leonard Skinner now because they.
I can tell you right now. Yeah.
Yeah,
you're right.
Was that earlier this year?
He died within the last year. I would assume since they played last year.
Yes.
Steve Harwell, is that right?
I don't know.
I can't remember.
Rest in peace. I'm sorry.
I admittedly got him confused. I was like, oh, that was really sad when that singer died. And I was thinking of the Fountains of Wayne singer.
He died 4 years ago.
Yeah, it was during COVID, I think, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Well, look, that Smash Mouth appearance now is looking pretty good. The state fair is probably like, look, we had one of the last performances of Smash Mouth. So I've actually never read Joyland until up to this point. I did the most backwards way, not even backwards. I did the most jumbled way of reading all these hard case crime novels because I did Later, which you can listen to that episode in our main feed. We did that when it came out. And then last year I read The Colorado Kid, and that's also in the main feed. So I literally went from like 3, 2, 1. So I guess it was 3, 1, 2.
3, 1, 2
is what I did. Yeah, which is, hey, that's the area code for Chicago. So maybe I did
Do you
that
think you
intentionally.
deliberately did that?
Yeah.
Were you waiting for the third hard case book to come out?
I
And
was.
you knew. And
Yeah.
you're like, finally, I'll read
I was
this.
like, I'm going to do it.
Then I'll do Colorado Kid. And then just for the bit.
So I jumped on this book episode because I had two choices here. As you know, listeners, this is going to be just basically a gauntlet for book episodes. Last week we went through the Keyhole. This week's Joyland. Next week we're doing a Carrie 50th anniversary Twinner episode. The week after that we're reissuing our Dr. Sleep. So I had one of two options. So I've never read Went Through the Keyhole, and I was really amped for it. But then knowing that this is back to back, I was like, I gotta finish out these hard case crime novels. You know, I was on.
You gotta finish out our area code.
You know, I gotta finish it out. So yeah, this is my first time. I had heard a lot of good things, mostly from you, Justin, because I remember you were saying like, if you like Adventureland, you're gonna like this book. And look, you know, no spoilers to my nose ratings, but you're right. So I think we're good. We got a great, incredible team to crack another tough hard case crime. So why don't we do it? Why don't we get down into that trusty Losers Club research? Unfortunately, given that we're in the Carolinas, we can't go to our beloved Derry Public Library. But the good news is that wherever you go, so will book. And we are here at Tina Ackerley's library?
Okay, Mike. Now, let me cut you off. This section has to be referred to as the Tina Ackerley Library going forward. You can't go back now.
Yeah.
This is the new bit. You cannot go back to the famous Derry Public Library.
So we have to do Tina Ackerley?
It has to be Tina Ackerley's library.
Well, hey, we'll keep
you
it
figure
then.
out whatever audio you want to put in, whatever clips you want to put in.
Oh, I found one.
But
It is the most ridiculous, like cheap jazz because there's a person named Ackerley or something like that. So I was like, that'd be fun.
It has to be Tina
So that's
Ackerley's
it is
library.
now.
This is it.
Well,
to
this
be
is
fair,
it.
we only have the rest of the year for the new episode.
We do.
The most recent the most recent books anyway. So
Well, the funniest thing about that will be now when we go unlock the episodes, it'll be like Tina Ackerley for this year, but then the forthcoming books after that, because they were recorded earlier, it'll be Derry Public Library again. So we'll eventually get back there.
To be fair, you know what's good about this is that people will be helping out Stephen King and Joyland and the hard case or hard crime books, because when people hear this in the future, they're going to say, who the fuck is Tina Ackerley?
Yeah.
And they're going to Google it and they're going to find Joyland. And so
Let's
it's going to kind of boost the algorithm. You know?
No, what makes the bit even better is that we never actually go to Tina Ackerley's library
Tina
Ackerley library. So
and it's not even her library.
It's not. She's just a librarian there. Great bit. It's a good bit.
Good. I like this. Okay.
Well, as you know, if you've been listening to this podcast for the last 7 years, the library, in this case, Tina Ackerley Library, which it fortunately has a direct line and connection to Mike Hanlon of the Derry Public Library. In other words, it's the same damn section. So we just like to get a little fun with our names, so don't get too confused. But in this section, we're going to talk about the history of the book and try to get a sense of where King's mind was at when he was writing it. So I'm not going to do a deep dive into hard case crime. We did that in the Colorado Kid episode. You can listen to it last year. But here's the overall gist in case you're like, wait a second. I thought it was on Viking or Scribner or Simon & Schuster. Well, you're wrong. It was on hard case crime. And just here's the synopsis for this imprint. The imprint was founded in 2004 by Charles Ardai and Max Phillips with the intent on recreating the flavor of the paperback crime novels of the 1940s and 1950s, even down to the original illustrations done in a style that was common for the paperbacks of that era. Hardcase lists include both reprints of books from the pulp era, and these are typically labeled complete and unabridged on the cover. And then the new novels, which were written for the collection, they're typically labeled first publication anywhere. So these are little exclusives, exclusives for King fans. So if you're a completist, you got to get the hard case crime novels. You know, you can't skip them. You can't say, I'm not really into side projects. It's not a side project. It's a King exclusive. And this is, he's done 3, as I mentioned earlier. And this is our 3rd one we're covering, but this is the 2nd book in the hard case line. So if that's not confusing enough already with the Tina Ackerley thing, trust me, we'll get to the same place eventually. So Joyland, as I mentioned just now, was King's 2nd novel for the imprint. We good? We good? All right.
Let me go over some of these numbers again.
Yeah.
So it was the second novel.
It's the second novel.
All right.
Yeah. Or some might say the sophomore novel.
But we covered the junior novel first, then the freshman novel second, and we covered the sophomore novel third.
Yes. Okay.
I got that. I can only do numbers by grade levels in America.
Oh, sweet. Okay.
Thank you. I can only count to 4, by the way, so that's the other problem.
Yeah. Well, that's a major problem, especially if what if you're going to a pizza restaurant and you have a huge party?
Mike, I'll tell you right now. To be fair, Joyland came out in the year sophomore, nothing, freshman, junior. Which I'm fine. I could tell you the year it came out.
This is insane. We have to stop. But I like this line of thinking, even though we have already confused our listeners beyond comprehension now. Fortunately for you, it's really not that complicated of a story that we got coming up, so we're going to be good. Anyway, Joyland was published on June 4th, 2013, only in paperback. However, because I know all the diehard collectors are just going to scream at me from their headphones, and I do hear them because I have the shine as well. It was also released on hardback on June 11th, 2013 by Titan Books. And they published basically a limited hardcover edition that had 3 iterations. So there's a gift edition that was limited to 1,500 copies. There's a numbered edition limited to 724 copies, and it was signed by King. And then there was also a lettered edition limited to 26 copies and also signed by King. Each one features cover art by Robert McGinnis, which is different from the paperback edition by Glenn Orbick. And there's a nice little map of the Joyland amusement park that was created by Susan Hunt Yule. And I imagine they all go for a very pretty penny, especially the lettered edition that was limited to 26 copies. I'm sure Richard Chismar has at least 2 or 3 of these. But so I don't have this edition. It would have been cool because I would have liked the map. Do you like when maps are included? Do you remember when Jurassic Park came out on VHS? They had I think they had a map of the island that you could put on your wall. I devoured that shit. So
whenever I see maps in books, no joke, I get pretty intimidated.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I see all the mythical or fictional towns and cities. Right. I think, oh my God, am I gonna really get confused? Yeah. Do I really need to know the layout? And 99% of the time, it's just a cool thing to be included in the book. Thing. I don't need it.
I like it though.
You
cool.
like it?
I love it. Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, I like it because it helps me visually. I'm not always the best in my head planning this out and mapping this out. When you said that, I was like, oh, that would have been handy. That
would have been really cool.
Because when they're talking about, I'm going here and going here, I'm like, I have no frame of reference.
Especially for this book where it's literally just the amusement park. It's not like it's the world of Lord of the Rings or something.
Oh well, no. Yeah,
it's just here's where the horror house is. That's easy. That's easy.
But I would have liked to know where the horror house is in relation to everything else. I have it all in my mind, but knowing King, it could be wedged all the way in the back. It's patrons that go to Joyland might not even see the horror house, and maybe for a good reason.
I think it's northwest, kind of where the Haunted Mansion is at Walt Disney World.
Oh,
Magic Kingdom.
Yeah, which funny. It's in Liberty Square in Disney World, and in Disneyland, it's in New Orleans Square.
Interesting.
So tell us in the comments below.
Which location do you prefer for your Haunted Mansion?
Which Haunted Mansion do you like?
And where's the Haunted Mansion in Paris, though? Is the real question.
That is a good question. They probably threw it in fucking Tomorrowland because they're all ahead of the times and stuff. But Tomorrowland, not a big fan of that area in Disney.
Well, it feels like now it's past land.
I know.
So
what about the movies? Is it starring George Clooney? Is that
they have an animatronic that he greets everyone that comes into Tomorrowland. He's like, "Hey, welcome to Tomorrowland," and that's all he says. Because who knows any quotes
Clooney
from that
character from Tomorrowland?
He's like, "Stop and have an espresso on your way out."
Hey, come on,
Tomorrowland espresso.
Star Tours is in Tomorrowland and Disneyland. but they also have a Star Wars separate land, called Galaxy's Revenge or Galaxy. I can't remember.
This is like the Harry
Galaxy's
Potter nightmare.
Revenge.
It's not. I don't think it's that. It's something else, but I can't remember. But it is like the Harry Potter thing, where it's like there's
you've got a whole land,
yeah,
and you've got another ride somewhere else, and then the train takes you from park to park. It's just luckily that's where the nightmare ends with Harry Potter. Fortunately,
yeah. There's no controversy whatsoever.
No. Nope.
Okay. So, what do we think about the cover art, and where does it rank? Since we're done with all three, where does it rank for you in the hard case crime collection?
I love this one. I think for me, this is first. I also do like Later's. I think the cover on Later is pretty cool.
Yeah.
So this would be one, and then Later, and then Colorado Kid. But I mean, I like them all. I think the style is really interesting. This is my favorite. The girl and the camera and the background. Yeah, it's just very evocative. And you see this and it's like, oh yeah, I want to read this.
100%. Yeah.
I want to see what's going on with this chick.
Yeah. Well, the camera and the
like what's on the film.
background.
Well, it's just what Rachel said. I think what separates this from the other two also is that you get that great background of the amusement park. And the other ones are, from what I remember from Later, it's just the cop and then the kid in the background by the car, right? Yeah. And then Colorado Kid is just the woman on the bench.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
This
is easily the most evocative and the most interesting one.
This one, what I love about it too is that it really sort of calls back to all the young adult books that got me into reading. Like if you think about it, like every fucking young adult book from our generation had an amusement park in there. Goosebumps did, the Hardy Boys did, Fear Street did.
Brown.
Like the fucking Boxcar Children managed to stumble into a amusement park at some point, I'm sure. Maybe 5 times. But yeah, so that alone drew me in. But the expression's great. It really does fit into the hard case crime in many ways that let's just say, Later is really stretching it to fit into the hard case crime. And
like, look, there's a cop character.
There's a cop that's clearly just like wedged in here for anyway. I like Later a lot, but yeah,
I do actually like Later. Yeah,
it in that case, it felt like a supernatural book that had touches of hard case crime. In this one, it feels like a hard case crime story that had touches of the supernatural. And then Colorado Kid is a meditation on storytelling. So that I don't know why it's a hard case crime novel. Anyway, so we're on the same page. This is the best cover.
Yeah,
agreed.
So.
Yeah, look at this. It's just gorgeous. I actually didn't take the time. I just really shit the bed on that one, but I didn't take the time to look up the hardback version of it. But I don't know. I think this one's fine. You don't mess with something that's perfect. Don't mess with perfection. If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Let me write that down.
Yeah, it's a cool.
That's a great saying.
It's a cool motto.
It's really cool.
Micro.
Yeah. So where did the story come from? Like most of King's work, it spawned from an image that wouldn't leave his brain, and yet it also has a curious connection to another iconic book in his back catalog. Anyone have a guess on which novel that may be, especially those that aren't looking at my script?
Well, Mike, I'm not looking at your script, but I just went to Tina Ackerley's library and I checked out this question and I found the answer, and I think it's The Shining.
Oh, you are right. Yeah, it looks like you have The Shine too. How about that?
Hey, how
comes
about that?
through.
Yeah, where are you on that one, Rachel? No, I'm just joking.
Rachel didn't get the right. She went to the Derry Public Library.
I know.
So
Yeah, she did.
my
Library.
mistake. I should have trusted Tina.
It's like it has a connection with it. Nope, that's Later. Because if you ever thought a hard case, out of all the King books, they're like, God, he's gonna get back to it at some point. He got Dandelo in there in Dark Tower 7, and then he brings back the Ritual Chud in a hard case crime novel.
Yeah.
Anyway.
He likes
Very
to keep us on our toes,
He does. That's what I love about him.
They'll never expect this.
To roll the dice, the King's Dominion. So there's this incredible interview between King and NPR's Terry Gross. Just really, really, really good. And it's going to be really the foundation of kind of what we're going to be discussing in this section. But in that interview, King shares his origins with hard case crime, citing his mother's fascination with Agatha Christie, an author King also loved, but whose fiction was a challenge for him as a writer. He admitted, "There was a puzzle element to it. And I just couldn't figure out how anybody could plot that way. And I guess the reason why was because I was never built to be the sort of writer who plots things. I usually take a situation and go from there. So at Joyland, there's a trail that you can follow that leads to the killer. But you know what? If you figured out who it was in advance, you were doing better than I was, because I got near the end of the book before I realized who it was. So before we go on, anyone solve the mystery before King?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, so you knew it was Lane, like from the get-go?
I mean, not the get-go, but I had my hunches. I mean, this is boggling to me that he got near the end of the book before he realized who it was. I mean, there's parts of it that I can see, like, oh, okay, he had to, we'll talk about it, things that he had to maybe like resolve to make it make sense.
Yeah.
But I mean, it did feel like there were some very obvious red herrings put in there that, I mean, if I had to hit a certain point in the book and put down some money, that would have been where I put my money on.
Yeah, I wonder if he figured it out around the time he introduces Annie and Mike.
Yeah.
Because I feel like before that, it does feel like in its own way, and this isn't necessarily negative at all, it feels like a different book in some ways.
Yeah.
Admittedly, though, I did have, especially the first half, I did have some problems trying to differentiate between Fred,
Same.
Lane, and Eddie.
Same.
And then gradually it made more sense, especially by the
Right.
time Mike and, I mean, it's pretty close to the end, admittedly, but by the time Mike and Annie go on the private tour of the park. But I did have a feeling it was one of those three for sure. And then honestly, maybe this is what it was like with King. For me, it was a coin flip between Freddie and Lane.
Yes.
The official reveal. I just didn't know.
Yeah.
It was definitely one of those two, no doubt about it in my mind.
That's
Freddie
where I was.
Old. Freddie was too old.
Yeah, but he got to be,
like,
He would have been older too when he killed Linda Gray. So
I guess.
I mean, we'll talk
knows?
more about Lane in the heroes and villains section, but I do have some thoughts on the twist there. But I'm glad that we're on the same page in terms of some of the characters and supporting, because there was a lot like, wait, I thought that was Lane. Wait, Lane's not Fred. Wait, who's on first? So King further adds, I don't want the reader to feel like this is all sort of a prefab creation. I want it to feel organic, to feel like it grew by itself. I've never seen in novels as built things. I have a tendency to see them as found things, so that I always feel a little bit like an archaeologist, Indiana Jones, anyone, who's working to get some fragile fossil out of the ground. And the more you get out unbroken, the better you succeed. Again, that process, which we're all very, very familiar with, having done this podcast week to week since 2017, traditionally boils down to an image or an idea for King. A lot like David Lynch's own mantra, which goes, ideas are like fish. If you want to catch little fish, you can stay in the shallow water. But if you want to catch the big fish, you've got to go deeper. So it's just a little volume thing. That's the difference.
I was going to say, I was going to wonder how you're going to pull that off without sounding like Stephen King. That's
Well,
good.
we were thinking on the same page, because going into that quote, I was like, uh-oh, you already did the so you did it. Anyway, the fish in question here is pretty typical of King as he tells Gross. Do you want to take this one, Justin? You want to take this
Sure.
quote? All right.
I can't do King as good as you, so
Don't worry about it. Just
Justin
go normally.
Gerber
I'm
style.
sure the listeners will appreciate it anyway.
I'll do my best, King. I had an idea for the story. No,
Oh.
I had an idea for the story. That was gross. I was going to Anthony Hopkins doing
I was
it.
going to say, it sounds like Anthony Hopkins.
Maybe I'll do that the next time we do it. I had an idea for the story, which, by the way, has been in my head for about 20 years now. And all it was to begin with was an image of a boy in a wheelchair flying a kite on the beach. And that picture was just as clear in my mind as it could be. And it wanted to be a story, but it wasn't a story. It was just a picture, as clear, as clear, as clear. And little by little, the story built itself around it. And I thought, well, there's an amusement park down the beach from where this kid in a wheelchair is trying to fly his kite. And the name of the amusement park is Joyland.
And off to the races we go. So I know what you're all thinking. Wait, how the hell does The Shining fit into this? When are you going to get to that fireworks factory, Mike? Right now. So King digressed on another idea that had been in his head for decades, the amusement park. As he explained to Gross, Rachel, why don't you take this quote?
Sure. He says, well, I always wanted to write a novel set in an amusement park. And in the original concept of The Shining, that was going to be a family that was caretaking an amusement park at the close of the season. And I had sort of an idea. instead of an old hotel. Yeah, and I had a title for the book. I was going to call it Dark Shine, and I think I had a name for the amusement park too. Might have been Skyhook or something like that, named after one of the rides.
Skyhook. Okay.
You should have gone with Sky Dance.
Yeah, Sky Dance. That would have been interesting. Just like the production label, right? The Sky Dance.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Everybody loves Sky Dance.
Everyone is such a huge fan of them. Jesus Christ. All right. So I want to stop here. I want to discuss the Shining connection because this did blow my mind after reading this interview. Not only because, as I mentioned earlier, the Mike is, the kid with the kite central to this book, has the shine essentially, but because the other book King releases in 2013 is Dr. Sleep, which will be reissuing in a couple of weeks, as I mentioned earlier as well. So I want to toss out a few questions. The first off, would The Shining have worked at the amusement park with like the same kind of story?
No.
No.
The whole power of The Shining is the fact that it's concentrated to one isolated place that's completely closed off.
Mm-hmm.
And if you remove that element, I think it totally loses the effect.
Yeah.
Totally.
What do you think, Rachel?
I mean, I like the idea of or not abandoned, but like a dormant amusement park. And I like that idea of it, but the practicality of it and having like the family staying there and just, I feel like the hotel does feel like a better setting. And especially, the remote part of it makes more sense.
Yeah.
And just having it be contained because, an amusement park is largely outdoor.
Mm-hmm.
So you'd be going outside all the time. I just feel like the hotel feels more claustrophobic and just naturally by it being enclosed.
I do like the idea of Jack wanting to get a drink and he goes to the carnival bar or, the clown bar or something. And instead of Lloyd, it's just this weird carnival barker just yelling at him, and it just destroys the nuance of the scene.
It would have worn thin very quickly.
Yeah,
Sounds like Darkman when when he doesn't get the bear with the balloon.
Yeah.
Get out of here, freak.
But all right, so The Shining wouldn't work at an amusement park. What about Dr. Sleep? And I was thinking about this. I really, really was thinking about this because this was on my mind while reading the book before I even had read King's quote. Would this book be better if Devin was Danny Torrance and instead of dealing with a breakup, he's reconciling with his addiction like he is in the first 50 pages of Dr. Sleep? And it's Mike who, instead of freeing these people at the nursing home, it's actually this one encounter that he has that actually sets him on his way to figure out what he has to do after that. Is that this encounter with Mike, who has the shine, gives him this new life and new perspective, and that's what he has to do instead of being an alcoholic, or it gets him away from his alcoholism and his addiction, is being able to realize, I can help people. I couldn't get the idea out of my head, and I think it resolves Dr. Sleep a lot better. But that's my thoughts. What do you all think on this? Not on just on my idea, but the idea of doing the books.
I think it's complicated because, as I've said, probably about 1,000 times since we started doing this podcast 7 years ago, I do love the first 50 pages of Dr. Sleep.
Same.
It's my favorite part of the whole book, honestly. So if we take that out, that means we'd have to replace the beginning of this book. But here's the thing. I'll try to break this down as best as I can. As somebody who is now even older than they were, believe it or not, 10 years ago, I've aged in the last 10 years.
What?
I really do enjoy Devin looking back on the overdramatic end of the world heartbreak that he suffers from.
Agreed. Yeah.
Coincidentally, from a character named Wendy. Like
That's
Wendy
interesting.
Torrance.
I didn't even think about that.
And how he finds his way out of that through what he goes through. And that is different from, like you said, like the legitimate, dramatic, literal end of the world suffering that Danny goes through in Dr. Sleep. So in that regard, I'm happy that we do have both.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So I feel like I would not want to sacrifice Devin's story for Danny Torrance's section of that part of Dr. Sleep, if that made any sense.
Well, then maybe Danny Torrance isn't going through alcoholism anymore, but he is just dealing with a breakup. And there's no other connections to The Shining other than the fact that we know he has the shine. but it's literally the same character as Devin, but he's just called Dan Torrance. Anyway, Rachel, what do you think? You glad we got 2 books instead of 1?
Yeah, I'm glad we got 2 books instead of 1 because there's a lot of things that I like about this book. My favorite parts of this book that I just don't necessarily think would work in the same way if it was Danny Torrance and not just some of the age stuff. I just like the simplicity. A lot of this story and just how self-contained it is. And I think that if you actually make it Danny, it just adds a lot of... Danny comes with a lot of baggage, I think, for better or for worse. And I just don't necessarily think that it needs to be in this story.
And I feel like it would have to take place in like 93.
Yeah.
Instead of 73.
Well, yeah, that's the other thing. Like you would have to definitely... to make it work timeline wise and to make it actually make sense with what this character Devin Danny is doing, you'd have to manipulate that, I think, a little bit.
He'd be like, I
can see like on the carousel, like Plush by Stone Temple Pilots is playing or something.
Which isn't the cover of that like is it the carnival, or I can't remember. No, that's
is
not
that Dave Matthews Band?
That's Dave Matthews. Yeah, never mind. Is that before These Crowded Streets? Or no, that's a different one.
This would have been the album before that, or whatever the hell it was called. We can't. Oh man, that's
we can't do
93.
that. But or like
Rex and Effect is playing. Instead SWV is playing. I guess a Week in the Knees.
I just got home with In Utero, or instead of listening to the Doors, well, actually, you probably still would be listening to Doors because they had a resurgence in the 90s. But
he'd be like, "Do you like the Poly New Wave version?" Because the Cesticides come out.
He's like a huge Nirvana fan. I mean, he's suicidal in this, so it would make sense that he'd be into Kurt Cobain.
Mike's like, my mom liked them when they were called Mookie Blaylock.
Yeah,
I like Pearl Jam better.
It's Under the Table and Dreaming.
There it is.
That's what it is.
So it works. It checks out.
Yeah. So he would have gotten that then. If
he totally. Oh, gross. Devin.
He would have done in the last chapter. Right when he finds out that Mike's dead, he would have been listening to Under the Table and Dreaming because it would have been the next year, 1994.
Yeah. Well,
listening to just Satellite on repeat.
And then the Lane character would just be like an alternative reject or something like played by who's the asshole that's in Empire Records? He's also in Dazed and Confused. Rory.
Oh, Rory Cochrane?
Yeah. Okay. He could have been Lane, or maybe he's just Devin or Danny. Anyway. Why
not all 3?
Why not all 3? Just do them all. My nickname's Devin now. I hated Danny. So do we think Joyland is why we got Dr. Sleep, though?
Well,
that would make sense. Yeah. Like if he gets his wheels turning, and he's like in that mindset, maybe he's having these conversations with himself and like, well, I wanted to do that, but then just started thinking about like, okay, there's a bigger story here to tell. Let me compartmentalize and tackle one thing at a time.
I do wonder though, what year did he put out that question on the website? What would you rather read? A new Shining book or a new Dark Tower story?
I think it might have been 2011. Let me look real quick.
Yeah. So what I'm thinking is maybe he was starting to think about a new Shining book for Dr. Sleep and then delayed that briefly and did Joyland. I don't know. Maybe it's the opposite.
By 2011, he already had a draft. So
yeah.
So it was while he was on it was 2009 actually.
Oh, so there we go. So
yeah.
He's probably kicking around all these.
So he's
at the same
before,
time.
Yeah. Which there's one other book that I'm going to mention that has a lot of connective tissue to this as well, even though I haven't read it yet. But
I'll be the judge.
Yeah, I know. Well, that's why I'm throwing it out to you a little bit. Okay, so back to King's love for amusement parks. Here's what King told Gross. Ever since I was a little boy and I went to the...
Oh boy, you sound like a jerk.
Sounds like such an idiot. Ever since I was a little boy and I went to the Topsham Fair, I've loved the rides and the barkers. I think those people in particular, the shy bosses they're called, they're the people who turn the tips. They're the ones who stand out in front and tell you, everybody wins, folks. Everybody wins. Come on over. It's just $0.25 and everybody wins. Hey, mister, you want to win this big stuffy toy for your girlfriend? She's a beauty and she knows it. That kind of thing. In a way, it's a little bit like revival preachers, but in a secular version. So I've always been kind of fascinated by those things and in love with it. And I just kind of wanted to visit that world for a while. So he does. And he goes into research mode, basically like what he did with 11/22/63, even though during our research of 11/22/63, we discovered how much he hated doing research, but maybe something stuck with him because as someone who we all love doing research. We're probably the deepest researchers. So maybe King found the love that like we do. I like going to a library, picking out the books, coming out, taking photos of the pages. I haven't done that since 2011, but anyway, take this next quote. Justin on his research.
I went to the internet, which is every writer's newest crutch, and I looked at amusement parks. I wanted one that was nice and clean and sunlit, but wasn't too big. So I didn't want a Disney World. I didn't want a Six Flags park. And I settled on a place called Kenobi Lake in New Hampshire. And I got a map of the place and I printed it out. And then I started to think, well, this is going to be my fun house. And it's going to be called Horror House. This is going to be my Ferris wheel. It's going to be called the Carolina Spin because it's going to be in Carolina on the beach there. Little by little, these things came together. And then as I wrote the book, this thing happened where it became less and less like a standard amusement park and more like the carnies I remembered from my youth. And the more carny it got, the better I liked it, actually. I started to go to websites that had various carny language, some of which I remember a little bit. Pitchmen called shy bosses and their concessions called shies. And the little places where they sold tickets and sometimes sat down and rested were called their dog houses. And then there's stuff I just made up, like calling pretty girls points. I can't remember some of the other ones. It's all mingled together now in my head.
I love the idea that, so he's really stoked about the research that he does with the carny voices and all, and like the language. And then in the afterward, he like preemptively defends the research that he has. Like, I know there probably was someone who's either a constant reader or a passerby that was, just obsessed with amusement parks and they read this. I would love to know the total freak out there that would get angry at the way that the amusement park is presented here. I just love how much he invests more time in that than some of the other preambles that he's had on other things. But I don't know. I will
say though, what I found interesting about this quote is I figured that, I mean this sincerely, that in this book, their break room was called like a doghouse as a joke because of the costuming.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
I didn't know that was just generically what they were called around the country.
Well, maybe he saw that there was the dog, by the way, Shining. The guy in the dog suit, remember?
I remember that scene.
Yeah, remember
yeah,
it?
I do.
Remember it?
A couple of them.
With Derwent. So yeah, I wonder if he was like, oh, that's a cool name that they use, dog houses, and it works with my mascot. Like maybe he was originally envisioning like somebody dresses up as a duck or something, but then he saw dog houses and he was like, oh, let's get the dog. Anyway, fun theory, but I got some more questions. Do you feel like King nailed the amusement park atmosphere, or would you be like one of the freaks that would get angry at him?
Okay, Mike, they don't use the term freaks anymore in relation to amusement parks.
Well, I'm just talking about psychos that are on like Reddit and subreddits. I'm not, no, those, I'm not referring to the performers, just specifically the nightmare commenters that live online.
Kidding. I do feel like he nails the atmosphere. And similarly, I did not know if it was authentic. I did not know if it was made up, but it worked for me. I guess it's cool that it is authentic. I guess it's kind of like, if you work in like fast food or whatever, like in a diner, they've got their own lingo. Like, yeah, there's probably a few people out there that might know that. But like you said, I'm not sure who would actually be upset about calling him out. But I don't know. He has enough experience in this game. He's like, I'm not going to deal with it. I'm just going to look into it. And if the terms are fun and good, I mean, why not use the actual lingo, I guess?
What about you, Justo?
It's funny because I know this is technically supposed to be an amusement park, but I still get the same tone I get from like Toby Hooper's The Funhouse.
Yeah.
Especially if you want to compare it to the Disney Worlds of the world. And Richard mentioned earlier about going to your state fairs and multiple fairs in Idaho and whatnot. But when I went to NC State, the North Carolina State Fair was on the NC State territory in the territory on the school grounds. So I feel like they do capture that pretty well. I can't speak to the Coney Islands of the world. I've never been.
Yeah, I've never been. No way.
So and I think there's another comparison that I might be able to make, but that might be an answer to the the next question. So
well, go for it, because I feel like we have been to a theme park similar to the style. There's one I referenced earlier on.
Sure was Kennywood, which we went to. And if you want to talk about an amusement park that does fit into this Joyland, then yeah, that would be the best comp I think I could make in terms of the parks I've been to.
Well, the funniest thing about Kennywood for me while reading this book was that, obviously the center of the tension is given so much to the dark ride, the horror house, right? But the only dark ride they had at Kennywood it's a Defunctland episode.
That's right.
Garfield's Haunted something or whatever.
Yeah. That's
and
right.
Justin and I went on that and with our friend Matt, and both of us shared the boat, and it was the longest fucking dark ride I've ever been on in my entire life.
Oh my God, it's so
long. I just kept laughing at like all the Linda Gray stuff still happening, but at the Garfield's I think it's Windmill or something like that. Garfield's Haunted Windmill. I can't remember.
Haunted Hayride or something like that.
Maybe it is Garfield. Let me look this up. This is going to drive me.
There's no way for us to know. We gotta go to the library, Tina Ackley's library.
Yeah, Tina. Well, I went to it's called Garfield's. Wow, no, it's not Halloween Adventure. That's a fucking cartoon. It's Kennywood. Let me see this real quick. I'm going to drive me nuts. Oh, it's Garfield's Nightmare. That's all it's called.
Hey, guess what, folks? So we were on the ride, we were kind of slap happy at this point. It was really hot out. I remember that.
Yeah.
And so we're kind of laughing at some of the stuff that's happening. And then halfway through the ride, we're like, how long is this?
Yeah.
I feel like it was like 7 minutes long. It's the longest ride.
And it was the first thing that I insisted on, because I'm like I'm like ironically a big Garfield fan, because I just think the cartoon strip sucks, but like the lore and the memes and everything is hilarious. I mean, it's the same joke over and over again. Lasagna, Mondays, John. It's like, that's it. Or Odie.
Well, we can all relate to all three of those things, to John's, to Mondays, and lasagna. I
know it's not as cerebral as the Schultz comics, but I'll give it to Jim. So I don't know. I just kept imagining all the Linda Gray stuff happening during Garfield's Nightmare, and I could.
But they're so zoned out, they don't even notice her. They'd be like, has this been? Didn't we already see that giant spider?
And it would totally make sense that the guy got away, because people are either usually already like hooking up in there, or they're so bored they fall asleep.
Mm-hmm.
And you would easily be able to get away with a crime there. Now, I'm not saying that came to mind when I was on the ride during Garfield's Nightmare, because I'm not a sicko. But while reading this book, I could think, man, Lane would really get away with this multiple times, probably. Yeah. Anyway, I don't know where we're at with this, but what other? That was such a tangent.
Well, I just know if Rachel had been to a theme park like this.
I mean, I feel like I've been to Silverwood, which is like up in northern Idaho, which is an actual theme park that's there all the time. But I feel like a lot of these like kind of more rustic theme parks have sort of died out, just like we see what happens in this actual book. And the ones that have survived are a little bit more glossy, the lagoons of the world and that kind of stuff. And while this one did feel pretty like clean and wholesome, I kind of wish it was a little bit grittier, because that's been my experience when you go to a lot of these. It's kind of like, they still have like wooden roller coasters and stuff. And it's like, yes, you might die, but that's part of the fun, is kind of the kitschiness of it.
Yeah.
And yeah, I feel like that's what Silverwood used to be, but now it's kind of, it's pretty shiny and I don't know, a little commercialized now even more than it used to be. It doesn't have that kind of gross fair vibe anymore. I think that's what fairs give you over these actual theme parks. The fairs give you the
gross vibe.
Dirt and the
So,
gross food.
Easily the most harrowing experiences of my youth, which is saying a lot, because I've been through some shit. But
have a seat, everybody.
Yeah, have a seat. Here we go. I'm going to go through the whole litany. But no, the state fair, just some of the worst experiences I ever had in my life there. Just absolute, just misery. And it was because parents would just drop you off, and it was in the middle of nowhere, and there wasn't a sense of mystery. There was a sense of, am I going to die out here? Am I going to be kidnapped? Is something going to happen? Am I going to get food poisoning and have to use the porta potties? These are all things that were running through my mind when everyone's just like, look, the shooting gallery.
I have to share one more thing about the fairs, though. I went to the Iowa State Fair about 10 years ago. Maybe it was right after I read this book.
Oh, it might have been. You might have been in Jonesing for it. But they had
shirts there, and I still have this shirt. I should go find it and take a picture for the episode. The shirt says, it's like Iowa State Fair, and it says the words, "I'm a fair lover."
That's pretty good.
But it depends on how you read it.
Yeah.
Because you're like,
Yeah.
I'm a fair lover, or I'm a fair lover. So I, of course, I had to
Brilliant.
buy the shirt, and I'll have to find it later on. That'll be good for the socials.
It would be irony though if you wore the shirt and you're a great lover, though, right?
Well, that's what I like to think.
Yeah.
It's ironic. People at home are like, it's kind of on the nose.
That's a little on the nose there. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think at this point in my life, I've just seen enough darkness on YouTube of things that have happened at these type of theme parks that I think I don't know. I'm way past the age to do the risky thing anymore. Yeah. Like I was on like not Splash Mountain, that's gone. Space Mountain. And I'm almost 40 years old. We were there a few weeks ago. And during Space Mountain, all I kept thinking about was the dumb urban legend, which I don't even know if it's an urban legend, if it might be real. God, I should just look that up on the internet. But you've all heard the decapitation story with Space Mountain.
Yeah, I've heard variations of it. I heard that one was like a woman's hair got caught on the track and like ripped off her scalp or something like that.
Jesus Christ! Yeah, it's scary. I like, but it's still in my head, and that's at a fucking Disney World theme park.
My mom wouldn't let me ride on it.
Oh, really?
Really?
I've never ridden it. My parents wouldn't let me.
Oh,
it's pretty good. It's dark. I mean,
I don't know when
dark
this decapitation story was, but maybe it
might have been a part of that. There is someone posted video of like when at Space Mountain the ride was on, like with the lights.
Yeah,
and it's fucking terrifying.
Yeah,
I've been on that before. So, like I said, I grew up in Orlando, so I went to my mom worked at Disney, so there was one time when like halfway through the ride, all the lights came on, but the roller coaster kept going.
Oh my God!
And because you're not really worried about what it looks like because you're in the dark, right?
Yeah.
So it was almost like we were ripping around some abandoned warehouse or something like that.
It's
very
so
strange.
Weird. It's so strange. Yeah, and there's so much like metal everywhere. It's like it's scary. But
guys, wait, do you know what it's the 25th anniversary of? Like this month?
Let me think.
This week?
1999.
It has to do with
is it
theme parks?
Islands of Adventure?
Busch Gardens.
Oh, Busch Gardens. Oh, interesting. Wow.
Wait, what about Busch Gardens?
Do you remember when Fabio got hit in the face?
This is we're recording on the anniversary of Fabio getting hit in the face by the pigeon, whatever it was on the ride.
Well, it's. I think it's like this week, but yeah,
okay,
20, it's been 25 years. But I remember that vividly.
I remember that video
news.
vividly. Yes, it's very funny. If you haven't watched it out there, folks, Fabio roller coaster. Oh no, is it a roller coaster? Or was it like a water ride when he went down really fast?
Apollo's Chariot? I don't know what that is. You're a Bush boy. Like,
oh my God, I went on that ride. This is the one in Virginia. I went on that ride a couple months ago.
Oh,
wait,
it is a very fast ride with some big drops. So I
probably heard him then.
Just
especially
what are the odds.
Well, like the filth factor, you got to think about that too. Like some random bird. Birds, not a fan of birds, so wouldn't.
I remember the video lands. He's dressed in like replete, like I think it's like a white shirt or something. His beautiful blonde hair.
It's a blue chambray shirt.
Oh,
is it really? Oh,
well, I don't
King's
know.
Dominion.
Well, yeah, I wish, but it just blood all over his.
It just the odds of a supermodel getting.
I'm trying to think of a.
He looked like Lane Hardy at the end of.
Yeah, he probably his eyes are all like.
Yeah.
Oh man,
what can you say? Good. I can't believe it's not.
I can't believe it's not pigeon.
Yeah, I mean, there's not. I was trying to make a good bit with that, but it's not going to happen. So we should probably talk about the reviews. We got to get out of the library. So Justin, why don't you share some? What was the critical consensus of Joyland?
I went to the great, and I can't say this enough. The great website LitHub, which is kind of like the Metacritic for books. If you want to find some great books out there, just discover some great books. Fortunately, their archive dates back far enough to have a bunch of reviews for this book, and I was pleasantly surprised to see that there were 14 reviews. And usually when that happens, there's inevitably going to be at least one pan. But there were 5 raves, 7 positive reviews, 2 mixed reviews, but there were 0 pans.
That's good.
So I regret to inform the 3 of you, I did not share this with you, but I will read these 3 reviews blurbs really quick, I promise.
Okay.
Like I said, I pulled a rave, a positive, and a mixed. If I pulled a rave, a positive, a mixed, I took the 3 that they had examples on bookmarks in order. Don't give me too much credit. The first is a rave from Max Winter from the Los Angeles Review of Books, who said, Joyland is as genre foiling as its author. As you read the dialogue, the book becomes less a story about a summer's mystery than a tale of entry into another coexisting world, one with its own rules, codes, and language. Strengthens his storyline with a rich cast of supporting characters. It's quick reading, and its pleasures are simple ones. And yet it's just complicated enough to force us to question the distinction between high and low literature. I like that.
Yeah.
There's a positive one from Bill Sheehan from the Washington Post, who I believe is a King champion over the years.
I think so. Yeah.
At the very least, the paper was or is.
That name rings a bell.
He writes, in many respects, a different sort of book, but it too depends on King's typically unerring sense of character for its deepest effects. The narrator is Devin Jones, a 60-something writer looking back in the summer of 1973 when he was 21 years old. Within that Bradbury-like setting, I'm sure King would probably appreciate that, King has created a moving, immensely appealing coming-of-age tale that encompasses restless ghosts, serial murder, psychic phenomena, and sexual initiation. Quotidian details pervade the narrative, providing a solid foundation for the dramatic, sometimes otherworldly events. Opens up this world and gives it a tangible reality. The resulting portrait of Joyland in action is absorbing enough all by itself to sustain a full-length narrative. This, however, is a Stephen King novel, and so a darker, more menacing reality eventually asserts itself. The melodramatic aspects of the story are great fun, but the real strength of Joyland stems from King's ability to connect with his characters directly and viscerally. Good. And even this mixed review is not that bad at all. Walter Kern of the New York Times Book Review. Stephen King's nostalgic new summer novel about the adventures of a lovelorn college boy in a haunted southern amusement park. The book delivers chills, not shocks, and is silly scary in the manner of a yarn that the sophomore might tell a freshman while toasting marshmallows around a fire. Between the lines is an implied critique of the sanitized corporate Disney-style amusements that have supplanted the grassroots titillations of an earlier, cruder era, like Rachel's talking about. There's not a lot more to Joyland than that. Good fun. The novel's like a plump wad of cotton candy. It fills the mouth with fluffy sweetness, then quickly dissolves when the reader starts to chew.
Yeah.
If that's the worst review there is, that's not that bad.
That's pretty good. Yeah. Well, thank you for all those. I think those are pretty strong. I mean, I think for this stretch, I'm trying to imagine what was like his last like divisive book. And this isn't divisive by no means, but it's just like, I'm trying to think of in the past like run that we've been on. What was one book that I guess, I don't really know, actually. I think most of those books, we're on like an amazing run right here. So I wonder if this was the one where he was just like, oh, there wasn't a perfect score or something like that.
I think even the ones before this, I'm sure you could find some mixed and pan reviews over the years. And and pan reviews. But I was surprised that everybody, at the very least, if they didn't love it, they still found something to recommend.
Well, that's what I like about this series.
It's a simple story too. It's not to feel like I'm sliding it, but it's not like he's trying to knock it out of the literary part.
No,
it's a simple story. He knows he's writing for this imprint or this print, right? So he knows the type of story he needs to tell. It doesn't have to be fairy tale. It doesn't have to be some giant saga. It's the simple story and a relatively simple story over a few months.
Yeah.
Let's just say
you can finish it in a day too. It's easily. Not like you're 800 pages in and invested, and if you didn't like it when you leave, you're like, God damn it! How much time did I spend?
On that, over on the Crichton Cast, we always talk about how Stephen King books get called like beach reads, and then we're like, no. But these Crichton books are beach reads.
Yeah.
However, this is an exception to the rule. This is absolutely a beach read.
Totally.
Joyland.
Yeah. I mean, I always look at Stephen King books as pumpkin patch reads because, usually during Halloween, I go to a pumpkin patch and plop down and read a good Stephen King.
That reminds me of that giant pumpkin in the Garfield's Nightmare Ride.
Terrifying.
I think it was minute 4 where I was
minute 4.
Are we supposed to are we supposed to get out of our seats and go through the pumpkin? Why are we still moving?
What is going on here? And who are all these characters? Where's John?
Where's the lasagna? Why is there a giant spider floating around here? Yeah, anyway.
every spider, they've got their webs. Am I right? Well,
yes.
every Peter has his hook.
Ah, yes. Don't you see? Don't you see how clear it all is? Not only can you see the future, I can change it. You can change it, exactly.
All right, let's workshop this. Is this like the flip side of the Captain Hook story where actually Peter Pan's got the hook?
Well, no, I was saying Peter Hook has enjoyed it. So it just absolutely makes
Peter
no sense.
Hook.
I just realized
Dr. Hook?
I usually write these transitions.
Oh, you do?
And I was like, where am I going to go with this hook thing right now?
Oh, that's good.
Anyway, we're in the hook. Before we get into the themes of this book, though, we should probably lay out what this book is about. So let's read the synopsis. Rachel, do you have your book? Do you want to?
I do.
All right, read it. Read away.
College student Devin Jones took the summer job at Joyland, hoping to forget the girl who broke his heart, but he wound up facing something far more terrible: the legacy of a vicious murder, the fate of a dying child, and dark truths about life and what comes after that would change his world forever. A riveting story about love and loss, about growing up and growing old, about those who don't get to do either because death comes for them before their time. Joyland is Stephen King at the peak of his storytelling powers.
Man, that pretty fair sell. I think I agree with most of that. You know, it's
I missed the roadwork description.
Oh God,
inaccurate description.
Just
this is on this is
oversell.
Nails it.
I'm thinking back to that seg. And I did realize that I tried to do a Peter Hook thing, but doing the Peter and Hook, maybe that is like interesting that he has that his first and last name have the Peter Pan connotation there, because it would make sense.
Rufio.
You know, let's just say Rufio, not a great fighter. You know, should have lived. And it's a Disney movie. How do you die?
He looks cool though.
Yeah. Well, anyway.
Bye.
Speaking of Hook, let's talk about the hook of this book. Beyond the amusement park and beyond the murder, you could say that death lingers over this entire story. You got Linda Gray's murder, you got Devin's thoughts on suicide, you got Mike's own fading mortality, even the inclusion of his grandfather, Buddy Ross. What are some takeaways on your behalf that you walked away with, especially since both of you have read this multiple times? Rachel, what would you say is the hook, the theme for you in this?
I mean, what I really love about this is how, like, yes, it's a coming of age story. Like, they talk about that a lot, and you hear that talked about a lot in a lot of like the reviews and just conversations around this book. But to me, it feels kind of like a phase 2 coming of age story. There's like Stand By Me coming of age when you're like, you know, entering your kind of preteen years or your teenage years. But then I feel like there's a second phase of coming of age when you're kind of transferring from adolescence into adulthood and just kind of grappling with, first loves and heartbreaks and first sexual experience, but also just kind of the self-awareness and the acceptance that, you know, life might not just turn out the way that you thought it would, and just kind of having to grapple with that a little bit. And for me, I think that's such an interesting part of this book and something that I don't always see represented so well, and so, like, I don't know, just kind of poignantly, it feels very melancholic to me, and that's what I like about it, but it never kind of tips over the edge of just being almost too sappy or too depressing. Right. It's just very sort of honest and contemplative, I think, about that time in life, and it feels less hormonal, I think, than a lot of coming of age stories, and a little bit more like rational. And that's kind of, I just really like this, because I think that's an important thing to realize, is like, we're all coming of age in different ways. Like, I still feel like I'm coming of age into different phases of life. Like, you don't just come of age once and then like, haha, I have it all figured out, I'm an adult. And I think that's something that he displays really well here.
Couldn't agree more. Justin.
I like that phase 2 that you talked about there. And I think in this, you could say this is the end of innocence for him for phase 2. And there's a great quote I pulled. He says, "The end of my first love doesn't measure up to the death of one old friend and the bereavement of the other, but it followed the same pattern, exactly the same. And if it seemed like the end of the world to me, first causing those suicidal ideations, silly and half-hearted though they may have been, and then the seismic shift in the previously unquestioned course of my life, You have to understand, I had no scale by which to judge it. That's called being young.
Mm-hmm.
End quote. And then, so yeah, it's like this unsustainable belief system at that point is surely changed forever after he meets Mike and loses him a couple months later, has sex for the first time, barely evades being murdered, and then watches somebody get murdered in front of his face. You know, I mean, I know he's lost his mother at this point.
That'll
but
change you.
this will all change you forever.
Yeah.
You know, all these events will change you.
It's certainly probably the wildest summer in terms of, or the wildest year when you know measure it up to a lot of the other coming of age, just in the sense that you know, because when I think of this, even now having read it, I still forget that there's a murder. Like, I just think more about like the relationships with, you know, with the friends and Annie and even Aaron. And then I go, oh yeah, but then he also got like almost bludgeoned and like, or like killed on a theme park ride. This would definitely be a year that you remember for the rest of your life. If not till literally the last gasping, you know, breath, like you're Eddie on the fucking, you know, death table. But,
Oof.
yeah, I agree with all your sentiments here, because I think the phase 2 thing of it all, it's such an underrated era to study. And I think the most part in pop culture, they don't really do it well. It's funny because I think one of the best examples of that is Adventureland, because Adventureland, everyone always talks about after high school, but no one ever talks about after college or like getting close to after college. And that, to me, looking back, is far more exciting than any other era, because you really don't know what you're going to do. And at some point in life, now that I'm, you know, approaching 40, I do realize like, wow, I didn't realize how fucking scary it was, because I was just enjoying being a kid.
Yeah.
But when you really think back to it, but there would be moments of sobering realizations, kind of like the ending of The Graduate, where I'd be like, well, that was a fun night, but like, what the fuck are you doing with your life right now? Like, do you want to be this thing? You have everyone, your teachers, your parents telling you, oh, anything's possible, especially later generations. I mean, in the 60s and 70s, I think they're a little more realistic, but nowadays it's like, no, you got a gold star. You got it. You can make it. In the face of the unknown, there's another line in here. He talks about, I never thought I was going to die. And that's the same thing in your 20s. Is like, I mean, we just do crazy shit. And it's because, I think now in hindsight, it's probably because you're trying to just get away from reality, because reality is terrifying. You don't know where it's going to go. Like, the unknown is every day. So why not lean into your youth a little bit? And I think this book captures that really well.
Right.
This part of it also made me think a lot about Riding the Bullet, which I mean, the Bullet, the roller coaster, like there's more connections there, just even loosely. But even just this idea, like, I feel like, yeah, that's a short story, but it's kind of also very reminiscent of kind of working through these feelings and having to make those sort of decisions and life and death. And so I hadn't thought about that before, but reading it this time, I was just like, man, there's a lot of same Riding the Bullet, but even when he says like fun is fun and done is done, there's like, I couldn't go back and find it, but as I was reading it, I was like, oh, that reminds me of Riding the Bullet. Like, it's those very short, but that same idea, and just kind of like, death is coming for you no matter what. It's coming for us all, and some people it comes earlier than others, and I think that's kind of the same things that he's exploring here.
Who is dying in that book too in his life? Is it his
mother?
Mom?
Yeah.
There you go again. And Devin's mother has died in this book. So interesting.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of this does feel it doesn't feel greatest hits. I wouldn't say greatest hits, but it does, in the sense of King's strengths, it does, because there's so much, obviously connections with The Shining. The Body is all over. This almost feels like a spiritual sequel to The Body in a way.
Children of the Corn.
Children of the Corn.
The evangelical.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, yeah, it's not. That's
your life not turning out the way you thought.
The horror house wants you too, Devin.
He who walks
the horror house
behind
wants you too, Devin.
The walls, or what was
he who walks behind the horror house?
God, yeah. How simple it was right
Yeah,
there.
what if at the end of this book we got there and it wasn't Lane, it was Randall Flagg the whole time?
It was Malachi.
Oh, it was Malachi.
I made it.
It's Malachi.
I made it.
Do you want to go on this ride? Do you want to?
It's Isaac. Oh, Christ.
Oh yeah.
Isaac.
So Malachi's the redheaded guy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Outlander.
Okay. Oh yeah. Jen's like obsessed with that kid for some
You know
reason.
what?
I don't know.
You guys talked about him on that Children Corn episode. Not one mention of his appearance as the video store clerk on Seinfeld.
Oh, sorry.
Not one mention of him as the weirdo son in the Burbs.
I did. Lies.
Did you mention the Burbs?
Lies. I did mention
Okay,
the
I
Burbs.
apologize. Maybe I was just like waiting for the Seinfeld mention, but I take it back, Jen. I take it back, Rachel. You did it.
He's not Vincent though, right?
He's the one with like the mutton chops and like the short red hair who like gets tackled at the end of the movie.
Oh, okay. Yeah, but I'm talking about in
But in
Seinfeld, it's not Vincent's picks, right?
Vincent.
No. He's just
All right.
working. He's got like a beanie on, like hair
Okay.
down to his shoulders. Elaine's,
right.
yeah, it's fun
God,
stuff.
that's one of my favorite arcs with Elaine. Just it's like Gene sucks. And it's like I'm Gene.
I can ask a question to both of you.
Yeah,
I've been thinking about this for 10 years. Little did I know that a thing called podcast would come about where I could finally propose the question.
Okay.
So you mentioned some ties in with like The Shining and whatnot, and it generally not being a greatest hits, but sometimes it does kind of feel like that. And even reading it again, I still felt this way to a point. It wasn't a make it or break it feeling, but does this story work without the supernatural elements, and is it maybe even better without the supernatural elements?
Go for it.
I wonder.
Yes, I think it works.
Yeah.
However, I think what I like and what I think that the ghost story adds is kind of this really haunting anonymity to these murders. And something that I think he also kind of explores, and I know Jen has talked about this with like the Colorado Kid too, is just kind of the brutal truth that like somebody can die and nobody even knows or realizes, and you can be riding past a dead body for hours and nobody even knows or realizes or is missing her, and that the killer can just walk away out of this crowd full of people. And I think that that's really chilling. And then as he explores, there's this whole line, like all these women were murdered and nobody knows, and just kind of that they just sort of fade away. And so I think that that's an interesting part of this, because we have the Mike thing, and his mom dies, but then there's also people who don't have this sort of this resolution, or don't get to leave in such a, I don't want to say peaceful manner, but get to leave under such sort of pristine circumstances. And I think that the ghost story and just kind of the story of those murders is sort of just a really more realistic like look at death, I think, and that there's different levels of unfairness. So in that way, I think that it should be there, but the actual ghost story of it could.
Oh yeah, I don't
probably
mean like
disappear.
the
murder mystery part.
I literally
Okay,
just mean
okay.
the supernatural, like the ghost. Not even so much the ghost. I think
And like the
something
shine part of it. Maybe?
yeah, the shine
Okay.
part I feel like might be one element too much.
I agree.
If I had to ding the book a little bit, because I feel like
I don't
even
think
if
I
you
would
wanna
like
have
it any
just the-
less without that. So.
yeah, it's because Mike kind of also runs into the Danny Torrance thing of
He does.
sounding like a 43-year-old in the body of
Yeah.
a child,
Yeah.
Mhm.
And obviously having Mike Dell's research and listening to you talk about it, The Shining was on his mind. So I feel like this is kind of another like version of Danny in some ways.
But plot wise, he would have to come up with some interesting, ways to resolve some of those things, because it is rather convenient for having to solve up some narrative plot holes that he would have to figure out how am I going to get here? How is she going to know what's going on? Like
you could even
Mike,
just have the now we're really get in the weeds here, or the corn stalks, Children of the Corn. I think you could even still have that the whisper of a ghost story within it that could resolve some things. But my concession would be maybe we don't have Mike being able to tell the future. Like I think it's enough to have what's her name? Madame Fortuna. Have that kind of be the
Yes.
Is she authentic or not?
Is she,
Exactly.
isn't she?
I think that would have been fine. I think you still could have had the Annie and Mike story 1,000%, 100%, but just don't have it be where he's doing the same thing that Madame Fortuna is essentially doing.
I agree. And that's where I was going to stay at this, is that I did think that the supernatural elements I became less interested as I was, and especially because it affords this novel, especially towards the end, some very perfunctory moments. Like we'll talk about it a little bit with like certain characters and all, but I think what you could have done is just that there's a scene where Devin goes back to the horror house and he rides and he says he doesn't see anything, but he feels something. There's like a cold, like it gets cold. I think if you leave that, maybe you just insinuate that Tom saw something, but you never really confirm. He doesn't really ever talk about it.
And I like
again.
that idea. That's
I love that.
creepy.
And
we
it's
convince ourselves
but that's
sometimes
it.
do we see something, right?
You don't do the thing with the band. You don't need to have it where he figured out something with it. It just, I think it's a little too clean. It just gets it a way out. It's like the bad version of the bomb in the stand. Like, that made sense. It got him out of his, it got him out of his writer's block and he was able to proceed with the story. I think the shine element here, it's not only redundant, but it allows a clean way to get out of the story. And I don't really think it needed that. I was more interested when it was actually grounded. But insinuating, he's the best at that. I mean, I always talk about this parts of Pet Sematary where he insinuates certain things and it's really creepy. Like, I think that keep that. But yeah, I mean, I'll just say it now. Because like the last act, like really struggles because of that. Like it feels like, all right, well, the romance here is kind of done. We need to wrap this up with the murder. We're going to have him figure it out like Manhunter at the end. And then he's also going to get a call the second he figures it out. I mean, there's just a lot of things that I'm like,
and the ghost, of course, the ghost only conveniently gives so much information.
Yes. It's just, it's a little much.
Yeah,
and
it's a little much.
But I think there is an overall message he's trying to connect here, and I think that's where we should kind of continue this. Is that so? King has his thoughts, and Gross asks King about the connection of Buddy Ross and the Carney, and his intention between the two pieces. So, Justin, why don't you read King's thoughts in this next one?
I'll be thrilled to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's there. It isn't overt in the book, but sure, we have a lot of Carney aspects to life in America. Everything from television and the movies to our religion. And we can see from the mega churches that, my goodness, Terry, gross, people love a show. So that you can have a nice Methodist church somewhere in Oak Park, Illinois, if you want, and people are going to come. And they're going to sit there, and the organ's going to play, and that's all terrific. What I want is down in the amen corner, Jesus jumping. I want that big choir with the people swaying from side to side. Oh, God. And I want the electric guitar. Then I want the preaching, where the guy's going to walk back and forth and not just stand like a stick behind the pulpit. He's going to, shake his fist a little bit in the air, and then he's going to smile and throw his hands up and say, God's good, God's great. Can you give me hallelujah? I just absolutely adore that. That's really only about 2 steps from the Carney Pitchman because I like that too.
So the other book I was hinting at and was pretty explicit about it because they mentioned this word revival earlier is revival. I feel like by not meeting Buddy Ross here, it also opened up another door for him to be like, oh, I want to save this for revival. Is that true though? Because I've never read it, but it seems, he gets to explore the Carney, maybe the sort of evangelist / Carney.
I mean,
thing.
honestly, it's a different type of character. The person you're referring to from Revival, Mike.
Yeah,
it's a definitely a different character with a different background.
Okay,
but he does kind of end up having a revival, in much in the same way Buddy Ross. So, granted, I do think that King has just generally always had an axe to grind.
Yeah.
With the evangelicals dating all the way back to his first book, right?
Oh, easily.
But to be fair, I can still see how that could very well have been on his mind at this time.
Like a springboard to be like, all right, it's finally time to write this.
Yeah.
Have you read Revival, Rachel?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, I'm like dying. I can't wait.
I'm dying for everybody to read this.
I got it. It's sitting over there waiting.
It's like it just falls off the shelf. Like it's time.
That'd be creepy.
I've been talking about this. I've been talking up this book so much for the last 7 years, and
I know.
I don't know how it's going to hold up to me. I loved it. It's not the most perfect book of all time by any means, but it's really, really good. And I'm telling you, the ending of this and the climax of this has stuck with me for 10 years.
Yeah.
It's like nothing you've really read from King, I don't think.
Yeah,
But
I can't wait.
Yeah,
for
I'm looking
this
forward
one.
to talking about it. If I'm not on the episode, I'm going to reread it either way. So,
Well, like I've said multiple times on this pod, that was the book I was literally I've read first 5 for 10 pages, I think, because I was starting it right before we started doing this podcast. And I was like, oh, never mind. I'll go back to the beginning.
It's just a very sad book.
Like, yeah.
And it's one of the rare instances. Well, no, I shouldn't say rare. I guess more and more often in fiction, it's harder and harder to find these characters where the villain is not. It's not black and white.
Okay.
The villain and the arc, the quote unquote the villain. It's not even really a villain, but you'll find out all about that later in 2024.
I believe it's maybe June. It's either June or May. I can't remember. But
get your fans out for your revival tents. You know. Yeah,
well, there's the conversation that he has with Gross. It turns inward, and I wonder if this interview actually is what prompted King to explore a revival with some of the themes too. So they get surprisingly spiritual and ideological, and it's a really good interview. It's one of the reasons why I built this whole conversation around it. But and the themes make sense in the context of the book, but I also think the themes also make sense in the juncture where King was at, in 2013. He's close to 66 by the time Joyland comes out. And then when you think about it, the last 10 years up to that point, and maybe even the last 13 years up to that point, they were really, most of his works were really colored with the themes of mortality and spiritualism. Like certainly through the aughts and everything after he experienced in 1999. He says in this interview that he's like largely moved on from the accident, but I still see it peak here and there. And I think even with Dr. Sleep, there's a lot of elements to it as well. But I really do like this bit about God in the afterlife. Rachel, why don't you take this section?
Sure. First, also just Terry Gross is a god. She's amazing. She's like interview goals. So it's not surprising to me that she was able to like pull this kind of conversation out with King, because she's the best. Okay, so this is what he says. On God and the afterlife and all that, it's certainly a subject that's interested me, and I think it interests me more the older that I get. And I think we'd all like to believe that after we shuffle off this mortal coil, that there's going to be something on the other side. Because for most of us, I know for me, life is so rich, so colorful and sensual and full of good things to read, things to eat, things to watch, places to go, new experiences, that I don't want to think that you just go to darkness. I can remember as a kid thinking to myself, oh God, I hope I don't die, because I'll just have to lie down there in that box and I won't be able to play with my friends or go to baseball games or any of those things. As a kid, death seemed boring to me. As an adult, I think that it seems more like a waste of everything. Somebody once said, every time a professor dies, a library burns. And there's some of that feeling. But as far as God and church and religion and the Buddy Rosses and that sort of thing, I kind of always felt that organized religion was just basically a theological insurance scam, where they're saying if you spend time with us, guess what? You're going to live forever. You're going to go to some other plane where you're going to be so happy. You'll just be happy all the time, which is also kind of a scary idea to me.
Yeah, I'm kind of on the same page with him with a lot of this stuff. This is a lot to take in, but what do you make of all this, like in this quote? And we can even get spiritual ourselves, like where do you stand? And do you agree with King like I do? Or do you think, and do you think this story gets to the core of these thoughts that King's going about?
Well, I figured doing a hard case crime book that we were definitely get to the idea of what's the
Life
deal with
after
God.
death.
No, I've sadly grown more and more out on, and I don't want to offend anybody, but organized religion, I don't know.
Yeah.
Having said that, though, I remain very agnostic. We're really getting heady here.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like Vinny in Good Will Hunting. It's very deep, Vinny.
Oh, very deep.
No, but like for instance, I believe in the whole Big Bang Theory, and not just a TV show. But I still can't understand. Like, well, yes, but what started that, and why did that start? And even now, I'm kind of like going to be going into this total brain meltdown thinking about that, the beginning of the beginning and the end of the end. So that's where I stand, Michael.
Well, that's some final thoughts there. Nice Smashing Pumpkins reference at the end there. So,
thank you.
Like they're the ones that created that line. The end is the beginning, and the beginning is the end, or whatever. Were they the one that was it you two or them that had they did a version of it where it's like the reverse?
The beginning is the end is the beginning, I believe, is on the Batman and Robin soundtrack, and then the slow down, the end
one
is the
for
beginning,
Watchmen.
is the end is the one in the Watchmen trailer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then it's U2 who has like multiple versions of "Hold Me, Thrill Me, Kiss Me."
I think they just have the one version.
the one
of
for
Forever
Batman.
soundtrack.
All right, so both Batman songs.
Well, get out your bingo card if you thought we were going to go from Dread or what's the deal with existence to
Batman.
Was it Smashing Pumpkins or U2 on the Batman and the Robin soundtrack?
Yeah, I always get the two mixed up. But hey, look, what about you, Rachel? Where do you stand on all this?
Yeah, I mean, I was raised Methodist, and so very familiar with every Sunday. This is what we do, and you have Sunday school, and you go to church camp, and I think that there is a lot of I feel really grateful for that experience in a lot of ways, because I do think there's a lot of great things you can get out of religions and structured, organized religions. It's very community minded, and made a lot of great friends and had a lot of great experiences and things, but ultimately, when I got a little bit older and, entered my phase 2 coming of age, decided ultimately what the actual religion is saying, I can't fully get on board. It just does not compute in my brain. Just does not quite make sense. So yeah, I find myself now leaning way more on the agnostic side of things. But I think that, the thing is, we'll never know until we know, right? So these are very natural things to kind of wrestle with. And especially somebody who did come so close to death. How could he not wrestle with these things, forever? And I do think the interesting part about this time is that he's got a little bit of distance. And I do think that distance is important, because you can kind of, I don't know, just your feelings probably aren't going to be quite so reactive, and it gives you time to just sort of sit and process and think about things a little bit differently, with not getting so, I don't know, just polarized, I guess, on how you're going to feel about it.
Justin.
To quote Jake Eddies from Jack Nicholson's The Two Jakes, it never goes away. That's true. It's true. To be fair.
No, it's true. You're never going to get away.
You can.
He's that's never going to stop impacting him. He's never going to stop thinking about these things. It's just your perspective kind of shifts, and you just kind of come to a different place with it. And I think
that's
this
right,
is just
Rachel.
He's just at a different place in that journey here.
I had a conversation recently with a mutual friend of all of ours, and they were dealing with somebody passing away fairly recently. And I lost, my brother one of my brothers 4 years ago, and then my mom 16 years ago. And I said, you never really get over it. It's impossible to get over something like that, but you do move forward eventually, and life does become easier. And just because it becomes easier and you're able to move on and find happiness in other things, doesn't mean that you've forgotten what happened.
Yeah.
That, so it's always going to stick with you. It always just depends on how you choose ultimately to move forward.
And it's the experience of life, the human condition, in the sense that these things, these moments, these dramas, these tragedies, they inform you. And you're right. It's do you dwell on it or do you keep going? And it's even if you did dwell on it, you're still going to keep going, because that's part of life. It's life is just going to keep pushing you forward to eventually get to your own sort of end as well. And I think you're right, Rachel, in the sense of where the POV, think about the narrator, think about Gordy looking back on the 50s versus Devin looking back here on the 70s. And the concepts of, there's so much more discussion on just it seems like there's just a different perspective on life. And that's obviously coming through King, because King was in his 30s or 40s when he wrote The Body. If not early 30s, maybe
in his 30s for sure.
In his 30s, and now he's in his 60s here writing this. You're gonna be thinking more there's the comment that he talks about, the quote that he pulls, when a professor dies, the library goes with it. That is something that didn't come to mind until recently. My grandmother passed away a couple of years ago, and it really. I wasn't really sad about it, because she'd been wanting to die for years. But the thing is that she'd always just knowing that this is a person that had seen the Depression, had frozen her food, and then also knew how to do TikTok it's fucking mind boggling to me. And yet when she died, just that quote that King references, is that all that's gone. all that story, all that history. And that's, as I'm getting older, that is also something I'm taking in more, is that like these stories are gone. And I think a lot of it is because so much of our life now is so compartmentalized. Jesus fucking Christ. Like fucking Bill Denbrough over here. But
hey, Stephen King.
Yeah,
King's Dominion.
we're on the beam again. But because, we could save things to, hard drives, we can, put all these things into, big giant fucking laptops and whatnot. Everything's saved. The concept that we're not and our memories aren't, it gets more and more tragic, especially as we move on to the modern age for me. And so I think I can't imagine what I'm going to be thinking about in my 60s where I'm at compared to now, because the way I approach death, the way I approach life, God, etc., at 40 versus even 30, it's night and day. So I think that comes across in these two point of views for sure.
Well, King talks about that even as the character Devin in this book, about when you're 20, you feel this way, when you're 40 this way, and when you're 60, you feel a certain way too.
Yeah.
I think, I guess, the best way to put a button, I think, maybe on this very interesting discussion I did not know we were going to be having on the Joyland episode would be, I would argue that I would safely put the Batman and Robin soundtrack up against Batman Forever, because the Batman and Robin soundtrack, it's got like REM on it. It's got Foolish Games by Jewel on it. It's got the Smashing Pumpkins song. I mean, it's a pretty good soundtrack.
Batman and Robin?
Batman and Robin, pretty good. But yeah, Batman Forever does. It's got Seal and U2, and it's got the Flaming Lips song. But I don't know. Batman and Robin soundtrack's pretty good. That's all I'm saying.
I do like the soundtrack. I don't like the movie.
Well, wait a minute. Hold on. Hot take.
Wait, you don't like Batman and Robin?
This is the poll for the episode.
No,
unbelievable, Mike.
It's just the worst.
Wow.
Yeah, but that alley fight though, I'm sorry, that is very cool.
Wait, isn't that Batman Forever though?
Wait, I thought that was Batman and Robin, like the black light with Robin.
No, that's Batman Forever. That's
okay. Well, never mind.
So Batman and Robin doesn't even have that. I remember Batman and Robin being bad because about 15 minutes in, my brother, who was 7 years old at the time, was like, "This isn't good.
This isn't it. This ain't it."
And I was just like, and I was just sitting there like clutching my pearls because I was like obsessed with Batman so much. I was like, "No, it's gonna be good. It's gonna be good." And then we just walked out, and he's like, "That was a waste of an hour and a half or whatever." And I was like, shut up. You went to a fucking movie.
It's not a waste, though. Oh, wait, but you got Mr. Freeze. Oh, come on.
It's no good.
Rachel. And you know what? You can keep them.
So it's all one-liners. I mean, you just got to...
Rachel, not one thing you're saying is inaccurate. But these are also the reasons why I hate the movie.
Well, I believe it has a King connection, too, because didn't Akiva Goldsman write Batman and Robin?
I believe Mr. Arnold Schwarzenegger was in The Running Man.
Oh, how about that?
Akiva did, right?
There's actually a couple of them. And then George Clooney was rumored to be part of the Pet Sematary remake for a while. So there you go.
Just rumors now.
Yeah, it's just rumors.
Be playing Ad Beaumont in the Dark Cat reboot.
Yeah, he probably was there. Actually, Romero was thinking about it.
We should probably save this because we're going to be talking about the music of Alien 3 coming up pretty soon.
That's true.
And Elliot
right.
Goldenthal also did that for Batman and
That's
Robin,
true.
so we can save some of this Batman.
Hey, how about the scheduling this week that we had for ourselves? We're on the Alien episodes and this at the same time. Just absolute
we're
insanity.
We're literally smack dab in the middle of recordings.
So we're good though, but I gotta say, Batman movies, they all have some structure and format to it.
Look at me. Look at me, teacher.
That's it.
To be fair, Mike, it took me 1.5 seconds to get what you were doing with that. I forgot that the next section.
Yeah, they do.
And I actually had a seg written, and I couldn't use it because we were so far off the fucking beam that I couldn't even. I was like, "This is going to sound ridiculous." But let's go real fast on this. I know this is everyone's favorite section. So all the listeners, they just wait and on pins and needles for structure and format. But
that's why every social media bit is hashtag structure and format.
Hashtag structure and format, which you should start that. So simply put, this book is told in first person, past tense. In other words, we know Devin is alive and well in his elder age, and all of what we're seeing has the weighted context of life and learning that comes with it. We love that about the prose. My question, do you think that it kind of destroys any stakes in this book?
I don't.
No.
Because even reading this type of a story, I would never be like, oh, Devin's going to die at the end of this. You know what I mean? So,
yeah, agreed.
and I think it just adds a personal touch, especially when there occasionally he'll go back where he's talking about Tom and Aaron.
Mm-hmm.
And I just don't know if that's going to hit as hard if it's somebody else telling his story.
Well, yeah, and like when you're going through something at that age, you're having all the feelings, but it doesn't necessarily have the wisdom that age can bring to it, right? Like you can't, it would lose that sort of self-awareness that we see later, I think, with him realizing that like, yeah, I was jealous. Oh yeah, I can admit that. Yeah, she wasn't the girl for me then, but it still hurt. And just, I don't know, that distance that time gives and that perspective, I think adds so much to this. And yeah, it doesn't necessarily slice the stakes for me because, yeah, similarly, I'd never for a second thought that Devin was going to die at the end of this. So even if it was just him telling it, I just wouldn't expect it to go that direction.
And also there's kind of a brattiness to Devin as he's telling the story. Like when he's looking back on Wendy and whatnot, that I don't know if you can get away with if it's again told, I don't know, third person, whatever, if King's telling the story.
Yeah. Yeah. I think in the I only ask that because, being a hard case crime novel, you would think stakes are like front and center priority. We need that. But I think this speaks to King as a writer in the sense that, by opting between stakes or, oh, I'm going to give some actually added weight and depth to the story. It says a lot about King. Because I think most people would just kind of go for the third person. Probably. Yeah,
I do think it probably removes a little bit of like momentum and tension, maybe.
Yeah.
That you would expect in like, a crime novel, just like, like a page turner kind of thing. I do think it takes some of that out of it because it feels like, your grandpa sitting on a porch, like telling you a story kind of thing. So I do think that having it come from older Devin takes some of that away from it. But at the same time, like I don't mind that necessarily.
I think this is also harkening back to hard case crime is trying to recapture noir, and most noir, a lot of the great noir.
It's very true.
It's told in first person. It's being narrated by the protagonist of the movie or the book.
Yeah, that's
so
when she walked in. Huh?
Yeah,
she was a fox.
Next thing I knew, she was a dame, and I wasn't expecting her. It's like that type of storytelling, and with the exception of one, I don't know if I can. If I spoil Sunset Boulevard, it's 80 years old. Watch Sunset Boulevard.
Yeah.
With the exception of that movie,
very good.
The narrators are alive. You know what I mean? So
that's true.
Yeah, that's fine.
She came in as a dame and she
broke my heart in three.
Her paws were all over me, and so were her claws. Anyway,
sounds like Stephen King's in the trench coat.
I know. Well, he is probably.
And she had her paws in me.
Well, maybe he'll hook up with John Carpenter and they'll all get noir together.
Very cool.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, I can't wait to see some of the more promo photos of Carpenter in the noir gear. Anyway, let's talk about
Carpenter's
Devin.
basically wearing the same wardrobe they wore in the Christine video.
Exactly. I didn't know.
It's just black and white.
It probably is the same wardrobe.
He's like, I'm not changing today. They went, you know what? Noir album.
If none of the tracks sound even remotely like a Billy Wilder Sunset Boulevard or
I want
the
to hear like
Maltese
the hiss
Falcon
on a record.
Yeah,
muted horns, some saxophone.
Cool. Let's hear it.
Let's hear it. Seriously,
did John learn the saxophone?
God, you know what? I'd also
calling Stetson to come on.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
That'd be cool,
that'd be cool.
Like I wish he had more collaborators for sure. Well, I mean, if Carpenter has more collaborators, that means they could certainly pull off a cover of Heroes and Villains.
I'm gonna have to kill this fucking clown. Welcome to the Losers Club, asshole!
Again, I had a written transition. I had to throw it in there. So anyway, I'm not.
What was the B-side? What was the alternate transition?
The B-side was, let's talk about Devin some more and all the other friends and foes, or as we like to call them, heroes and villains.
I'm gonna have to kill this fucking clown. Welcome to the Losers Club, asshole!
I like the stupid John Carpenter one.
The stupid John Carpenter one's better.
It's funny.
Yeah, it's good. It's not bad. All right, Devin Jones. I mean, we've already talked a lot about him, so I don't know how much more we can add. This is why it's so hard. This section becomes more and more meaningless for me as we go forward into this. Unless you're doing I fucking needful things, it's very hard to do these. But Devin, what else do we want to talk about this? Because I wanted to throw this out. you know, because I really do feel like King gets into the doldrums of young love, as we've all been discussing. You know, to quote Elliott Smith, everything reminds me of her. But I mean, we kind of already talked about it, but like, what are your thoughts more on this arc? Do you think that this is like the perfect engine? I mean, Justin, earlier when we were talking about Dr. Sleep being commingled into this, you said you wouldn't want to lose this arc. So this feels like the perfect entry to Devon for you.
Yeah, specifically that first part of this book, I love a lot. That kind of culminates with him finding minor triumph as Howie the dog, right?
Yeah.
Howie, whatever. Howie the hound dog, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Who goes to the doghouse, which is what carnies call their locker room. I learned that this episode. But I think what I like about this section is I kind of just have like bullet points of things you can kind of bring up that there wasn't really space for earlier in the episodes.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to say about Devon, when he refuses the $500 check from the father of the daughter whose life he saved, choking on a hot dog, I believe. No, I wanted to murder him.
Yeah.
Because
You took Tom's side.
I took Tom's side 1,000%. And I know Devon does mention that he's only 21 and doesn't know any better. But do you know, with inflation, what $500 in 1973 would be today?
No, what is it? Did you look it up?
$3,432.81.
Oh,
I would take that. I wouldn't tear
I'm
that up
taking that
now.
shit.
No.
I'm not even shaking his hand. I'm taking it. I'm going right to the bank. I mean, I'm sorry. There's
You're taking it and saying, this is all you got? This is all your daughter's life is worth?
Your dollar's worth $34.32.
$500?
Your dollar's only worth... Yeah, exactly.
Is there a way for King to pull this off where you can cash the check and still look noble?
Yes.
Yes, just say he took the father was incredibly kind, and I used that to get the fuck out of Joyland and not have to work for the rest of the summer.
Or like, what if he gave some of it to like a charity or something, you know?
What if he just bought everybody some hot dogs?
Well, that's like $1. So
It sounds like
they're
this
kind of getting
father
off.
was comfortable enough to give away such a huge check that I'm sure the father was thinking, he thought it through. It wasn't like he was going to be destitute if this guy cashed the check.
Yeah.
I'm taking that money.
I mean, it's probably going to pay for a lot of his college too.
Absolutely. In 1973, absolutely.
Yeah.
Now it will take care of like one class, but.
Was this before that he decided not to return to college, though? Because maybe it was kind of like some subconscious self-sabotage where he's like, I'm not going back.
That's a good point.
This was before, I think, though, in the book. Yeah.
Yeah.
People are still,
Maybe it's like hinting at the fact that I'm reading way too much into this. I'm not going to need this because I'm not going back to school, Tom. So whatever. I don't care.
Well, think of it this way, Rachel. Like, I'm wondering what cars could we buy for $500 in 1973?
I mean, what cars couldn't you buy?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Used car. I don't know if you could
used
buy
car,
new for $500, but you could buy some used cars. Oh, you could buy some muscle cars. Oh God.
I know. Maybe you could buy the muscle car from later.
I mean, like in Christine was like $250, right?
This is what I'm talking about. Take that money, Devon.
What would you have done it doesn't even make sense time wise, but like if he had bought the car for, like, he was the owner before LeBay, even though I don't even think that makes sense. We're not going down this road. Anyway, just a stupid fucking theory and I hate it. How do you feel though that the heartbreak aligns with like the broader themes that we've already been discussing, with like with life and the spiritualism and even just the kind of Carney versus the Buddy Rosses of the world? Like, is it just kind of talking about how like we think these things are the center of our world, but they're really not. They're just kind of, we're going to forget about them eventually. I mean, I don't know.
Well, yeah, that's what I was kind of saying earlier with that quote that he talks about how, when you lose somebody, your first love, it feels like the end of the world, but it really isn't.
No.
And I think in terms of like how it's spread out and parsed throughout the book between the love story and the ghost story and the murder of it all, I think if this book is 500 pages, maybe it doesn't work.
Yeah.
That's what I like about this book is that it's only 285 pages. And it doesn't need to be any longer. It's able to do enough,
Well, he has this unique perspective also that I guess everyone feels this way. I mean, watch the fucking Big Chill and everyone feels this way. But it's on page 210. King writes, it's when he's in his room and Tom and Aaron come back from going out. Nevertheless, I heard them coming up the stairs early and almost sober from the sound of them. Yet there were whispers and muffled laughter, sounds that made me feel a little lonely. Not for Wendy, just for someone. Looking back on it, I suppose even that was a step forward. And God, it's like, that's such a small little detail to put in the book, but it speaks volumes about that time of your life where just like everything bothers you. Like everything, even if you don't want it to, it just creeps up in your skin and you're just like, fuck, like, why did it have to come to that? Like, I wasn't thinking about it, but yep, that knocked me back into that mindset again. And I just thought it was a really smart way of just kind of showing how much that type of first love, that first heartbreak really does just define you. It just locks you in. So I did like that about Devin a lot in this, is that he felt very real in that sense, like we were discussing earlier. But Rachel.
And also just like grappling and coming to the realization when you realize that first love is dissolving. Like, I think we see that where he knows, like, the writing's on the wall, like something is not good here, but he keeps thinking like, okay, well, next time that's when we're going to do it. Like,
Yeah.
Okay, that would be the perfect time to do it, and just kind of that hopeful optimism that is not going to pan out, but you can't imagine a world where it doesn't. And then that whole rug just gets pulled out from under him. I just think that transition into that is such a sweet, very special kind of thing when you just don't want to admit to yourself that like this plan that I had for my life is not working and there's nothing I can do about it.
Yeah. Yeah. Other thing I applaud, at least here versus other hard case crime novels that King has written, I really do buy how Devin, at least for the most part until the last act, struggles to make all the connections. It's really not until the other third parties kind of influence him that he's able to kind of put all the things together. Whereas I do feel like in the other hard case crime, obviously maybe not so much with the Colorado Kid, but even with the Colorado Kid, like there are a lot of theories and rumors that did feel like, what? I don't know if that seems a little good.
Well, that's my
detective
major issue
work,
with Colorado Kid is what King explains with this book is that King famously, like he says, figures out the story as it goes along.
Mm-hmm.
So I truly do not believe that when he was writing the Colorado Kid that it was not going to have an explanation. I think that he literally ran out of ideas and ran out of an explanation. And he does not do that in this book, which is why I do enjoy this book versus the Colorado Kid.
But even with later,
that's my take on it.
But even with later, it does feel like, I mean, he's literally seeing ghosts and stuff. So it feels too easy. Whereas like this does feel like a genuine mystery until, everything comes together at the end, which I guess is most thrillers. So I can't really fault him on that.
It's almost Scooby-Doo if the ghosts were real.
Yeah.
At the end,
Yeah, it's true. Well, actually, it's less than Scooby-Doo because the Scooby-Doo, there are no ghosts. It's just...
That's what I'm saying. It's Scooby-Doo, but the ghosts are real. This time.
Yeah, okay, I get it. All right, sweet. The dead mom arc. I kind of forgot about it until I was doing my notes. Was there a little too much? I
don't know if you
too
need it.
Little? Yeah.
I don't know. Like, it's interesting because I think it adds something, I guess, to like his dad, like his relationship with his dad, but also, I don't know, did it have to be death? Like she could have like
that's what I was thinking.
Divorced. They could have just been estranged. Yeah. Like I don't even know if it's necessary at all. I guess it just shows that like, yes, he's suffered some sort of loss before, so he's approaching things differently. I don't know.
I think for me, when it comes to, especially since my mom's passed, when I read these stories or see these certain, like I saw All of Us Strangers, and like that movie had a much stronger effect on me than maybe it would have if my mother hadn't passed away, because it does deal with somebody dealing with their mother who's passed. So for me, it's a way for me to connect a little bit more to Devin, admittedly.
Yeah.
But I'm looking at it from such a unique perspective. I'm not looking at it from an outsider's perspective on that. I'm not saying that everybody whose parents have died are like, I must have a dead parent in my story to connect to these characters. But I'm just saying in this instance, I did find a way into Devon, and it does lead to a really beautiful scene with his father. I feel later
Yeah.
on, which I'll be discussing. So
Yeah, it's weird. It's like almost like a Chekhov's gun now at this point. And I think a lot of it is because we've just been bombarded with, trauma stories and horror. Where it's like the minute you mention that, it's like, all right, that's got to be the centerpiece. And I think I forget sometimes that, like, no, it's just part of a story. It's just part of a character. He's another writer. I think that's another component that I forget.
Yeah.
But what I like about this component versus most of the time when you have other writers in King's Dominion is that, to me, this feels probably like how King felt when he was this age. He says, in the spring of 1973, the last year of my childhood, when I look back on it, I saw a future in which Wendy Keegan was Wendy Jones, or perhaps Wendy Keegan Jones, if she wanted to be modern and keep her maiden name in the mix. There would be a house in the lake in Maine or New Hampshire, maybe Western Massachusetts, filled with the clutter and yell of a couple of little Keegan Joneses, a house where I wrote books that weren't exactly bestsellers, but popular enough to keep us comfortably and were very important, well reviewed. And it's like what you're saying, Rachel, with it's just like you have these dreams, they don't really come true most of the time. That line specifically not successful, but enough to get by, but also were well reviewed. That's
a ding at literary fiction again.
It is, but it also
Very
makes me wonder
important.
if that's because this is the main character and we're supposed to connect with the main character. I do wonder, this is just me playing armchair psychiatrist, if like that is King at 21, where he's like,
Yeah,
I kind
sure.
of, I just want these and maybe that's the long theme here that we've been chasing for the last 7 years, is that this is at heart, he did feel like even though he's the most popular author since even beyond Charles Dickens, I argue, he still wishes he could be part of that, like even part of that literary circle, or maybe even he is at this point, but I do feel maybe there's always been this like deep-seated regret in not having just that. I don't know. It's weird. It's like this, do you not want to be the most successful person, or do you want to be, I don't know. I mean, not to be a jerk, but these fucking assholes in like the New Yorker circles. Like, I don't know. I think I take King's road all the, like, before anything. But anyway, I think
it just speaks to what you think success is when you're young.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And like what you place value in, and like kind of, there's a scripture actually that says, where your treasure lies, there also lies your heart. So it's like where you place like what you value in. And I think when you're young, you place value in very different things than you do when you're 60 or when you're 30.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of, when he's young, he wants to be well reviewed, but 60-year-old Devon probably wouldn't say the same thing. He would care more about a good job with a steady paycheck and to feel good and comfortable and like what he's doing. You value things differently. So I think it's him speaking personally, but I think it's him also kind of being self-aware and realizing that, like, yeah, that is what I wanted then, but that's not necessarily what I want now. And that's okay.
why I wonder if it is like King, like kind of speaking personally there. 'Cause I do think that he's largely, I think that the anxieties of him being, again, I always bring this shit up on this podcast. I'm sure even if you ever listen to it, you'd always be like, God, this guy's on this fucking shit again. But
he's nailing it again.
Well, it's the reason why I think I love going on this theme so much is because I was that too. Like in my early 20s, I wanted so bad to be like Dennis Johnson. Like I wanted to write a Jesus son. I never aimed to write a 300-page book, or I always aimed to write like a 150-page book or something like that. Something that would be important, but and maybe not the most successful book, but something that had some statement to give. And then I just realized I don't care anymore. And
I'm also sure I wanted to, no joke, hook up with like a hot older woman.
Oh.
Well, hot take. Wow. I mean, wow. 21-year-old wants to hook up
Holy
with a hot woman?
shit.
Oh my God. Delete
Would she
this from
be
the episode?
Would she be named Annie? Yeah. But yeah, anyway, we could digress on that one. Adventureland, I have to bring up.
Oh yeah.
So that movie was 2009. It begins with a breakup.
Yeah.
Mhm,
It's
yeah.
a period piece. It's the 80s in Adventureland, 70s here in Joyland. And you could argue Devin is basically the Jesse Eisenberg in that movie, for sure.
Sure.
Do we think this film had any influence whatsoever on this book?
I think what you said, Mike, is kind of where it ends, though.
Yeah.
In some ways.
Yeah.
Because I don't feel like Tom and Aaron or like any of the characters in Adventureland. There's no, I guess the Kristen Stewart character is Wendy, but Wendy's the ex-girlfriend. So there is no Kristen Stewart character. There's none of that going on. There's no, I guess there's a quirky older boss, but there's no like Bill Hader.
No.
I think it ends with the brokenhearted college student at the amusement park, but it's its own thing after that.
Because even Lane, I kept imagining as like the Ryan Reynolds in that movie.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. I never
he's
thought
kind
about
of.
that,
but anyway, yeah. Rachel, you're a fan of Adventureland?
Yeah, no, I like Adventureland. Okay. I do think King's always got he's got 800 ideas at any given moment, just around, just like waiting on the bench, ready to get thrown into play at any given moment. And so who knows? Maybe he saw it and was like, "Oh yeah, that idea I had. But like who knows? Like maybe it sparked something, but I don't think it was necessarily inspiring as far as like subject matter. If anything, maybe he was just like, yeah, maybe it's time. I can revisit that at this point."
Well, I wouldn't be surprised in terms of influence if he had read my 6th grade short story Carnival 666 about haunted amusement park.
I also wrote one about a haunted amusement park with witches and haunted amusement park.
Maybe he ripped both of us off. Maybe we should get lawyers. You want to team up? I don't know.
Well, all I know is that we'd be in the same lawsuit because instead of an adventure park, mine was about a big, huge island that had dinosaurs on it. But then I realized I actually wrote that after I saw Jurassic Park, so I had no case.
Well.
Oh, it was called Jurassic Park 2.
It's called Jurassic Park 2, yeah.
It's called Dino Park.
One last question on Devin, at least what I have. Justin, you are a diehard Pink Floyd fan.
Oh, I was going to mention this.
Did you get jealous?
My joke was going to be, did he set this in 1973 instead of 1968 so he could like go on a rampage about Pink Floyd?
Yeah, it's interesting.
King doesn't seem like a big Pink Floyd
me.
fan in this.
He doesn't.
It did not surprise me, but Rachel, I was remembering when we talked about King's favorite music from 2005, and I went, I have a lot in common, but I do think we mostly diverge when it comes to musical tastes.
Yeah.
So I wasn't, too surprised.
Yeah. There's a great,
to hear that.
There is a great playlist on Spotify that I found that has, Rachel, you usually make the playlist for these book episodes, but I was like, I really wanted to listen to I wanted to listen to music that's diegetically used in here. Diegetically, It's a fucking book, but yeah, but the like the Faces song is great. There is a lot of really cool deep cut 70s rock in here. But the Pink Floyd thing, it just came to mind because I was like, how jealous would you be to be able to hear it firsthand?
Oh, for the first. Oh, I see what you're saying.
Like less than
absolutely.
a year after its release. Like, I mean, because I've never, in terms of classic rock, I was thinking about this the other day, and this is a thought I had never had about classic rock, is that I really never listened to a classic rock album, like iconic classic rock albums, without having heard at least 2 or 3 of the big songs on it.
Oh, me too.
And I can't imagine.
The exception, honestly, Mike, the exception to that would be Pink Floyd.
Oh, interesting.
Pink Floyd, I didn't hear anything off the Dark Side of the Moon until I actually sat down and listened to it.
Oh,
wow.
The
only Pink Floyd song I knew going into high school was Another Brick in the Wall.
Wow.
Like I just didn't hear, and when I started getting into classic rock, it was after I started to get into those Pink Floyd albums. So
yeah. Big 106 used to play like Money every afternoon, and so I actually hated that song.
Yeah,
and then I didn't but it wasn't until I heard Hey You, I was like, oh god, I have to listen to this. And then I heard Comfortably Numb, and I was like, this song's better than Hey You. But anyway, are you a Pink Floyd fan, Rachel?
I worked at a record store. I'm good with Pink Floyd. It's just one of those things where it's like you hear it so much that it's like I just can't ever,
It's like if I worked at the movie theater, so I didn't eat popcorn for like 10 years, because
is that true?
Popcorn. I had popcorn all the time, and so I was just so sick of it. It was almost just like having bread and water at a certain
That makes
point.
sense.
It's like I just absorb it. I just have absorbed enough of it in my life. Like I don't know now. Same thing with like the Beatles. I hate to say, it's like I don't know when I'll revisit that willingly on my own because I've ingested enough of it in my life.
Well, it's
now,
one thing if it's just like if you choose to listen to it as opposed to it being force fed to you all the time.
Yeah.
You know?
And these were things like these were all albums that like I grew up on with my dad and hearing.
I'm sure. Yeah.
So it's even before then, I feel like I am very well versed in this era of things. And so I think that's why some of like the music around this time period was stuff that my dad didn't listen to that I have become really attracted to, like Mott the Hoople or Iggy Pop and the Stooges and that kind of stuff, or even like Alice Cooper a little bit. And I mean, not
Love
now,
Cooper,
but, then. And so I think it's finding like the different stuff that you didn't hear all the time. But there's so much good stuff.
I totally relate to the work destroying something. Like I every time I hear someone talk about aviation law, I'm just like, get me out of here. Because I worked at an aviation law firm, which is the most boring fucking law firm you could possibly do.
It's like, did the plane wing break?
Oh, it's even not even that. It's like, well, this is made out of this steel. And then it's different steel. And it'd be like, it's basically this pseudo law clerk for a little bit. And I was just like, God, kill me. Get me in a plane that doesn't work. Anyway, anything else in Devon?
I'm at peace.
Nice.
Peace.
Much like the young woman is at peace now that Devon solved her crime.
It's true. Yeah, she's just floating out there and looking down.
Not her crime, her murder, I should say.
Her murder. Yeah, her crime. She killed herself.
Her crime was being in the wrong place at the wrong time.
I feel like Robert Costanza would say that. There's something wrong place at the wrong time. Remember in a Total Recall how like Robert Costanza gets so like angry that like Arnold Schwarzenegger's character doesn't listen to him. Like he's more angry about him not listening than he is about just, I don't know, being a plot armor to get to, not him. Anyway.
It's funny, Arnold Schwarzenegger is also in Batman and Robin.
That's true.
Mr. Freeze.
Mr. Freeze himself.
Aaron, I feel like we know a lot of Aarons in our lives, or we've had an Aaron in our life. This is on page 134. I was like, this might be the most realistic exchange of the book and also in King's Dominion. It's when Aaron and Devon are coming back from the theme park after she's visiting and gives them the file that Fred somehow managed to see and then also told Lane about. When I pulled up opposite the taxi stand, she put her hands.
Just a slight criticism.
I had to wedge it in there. I just remember I was like, wait, Fred saw that? Oh, okay. Cool.
All right, go ahead.
When I pulled up opposite the taxi stand, she put her hand on the sides of my face and kissed my mouth. It was a long and thorough kiss. If Tom hadn't been there, I would have made you forget that stupid girl, she said. But he was, I said. Yes, he was. Stay in touch, Dev. It's just like I've that sort of, hey, let me give you this what if, and I'm going to walk away. And that has happened so many times
That's
in
happened
life.
to me. It's happened to, I think it's happened to just about everybody in the world.
Yeah, of course it
has.
has.
It's
not
the
even
worst.
I don't even think that she's saying it. I don't even think he's even receiving it as what? I just think it's kind of like this wistful or it's like a mutual acknowledgement. But they both move on, and it's great when they reconnect later on. It's not awkward.
It's not,
which I really liked a lot too. Which is also in some cases very realistic. It's just kind of like, it is what it is, and that's it.
Yeah.
Or it's not even what it is. It's what it never was.
In terms of archetypes, it seems like Aaron is strictly here just to be the Oracle, though, right? Like, hey, here's this data.
She does all the work.
She
actually is the hero of this story. Like Devon does jack shit.
I know.
The library.
She literally hands him everything and puts all. And not only that, it's not like she just comes with the facts. She connects the dots. Actually sets him up. It's like, okay, I've done pretty much everything. Like everything's teed up. Like all the runners are,
I like
first,
how
second, and third. Like you just gotta like hit it home, buddy. Come on.
It takes Aaron's library work and Mike being, having the shine.
Yeah.
But it's like what you talked about at the very beginning, Mike. It's fun that it's not Devon who's like the one figuring it all out.
No.
He's not. Yeah.
He's kind of like the Jack Burton. You guys talked about Big Trouble. He really is like it's like, all right, what are you doing here? You're just kind of like a sap.
Just lucks
it's
into
like
it.
him figuring out the hair dye is like when Jack hits Lopan with a knife at the very end. Like it finally comes together. It's like
His
he
moment
finally
has
has his
come.
hero moment. His hero moment.
Was Devin a simp for not going after Aaron though?
Oh my!
No, he should not have.
No.
This is what I like about Devin. He respects these women's boundaries.
Mhm.
You know, he's respectful, even when he acknowledges, like, hey, if I hadn't been, maybe I would have gotten further, but that's not what good guys do.
Exactly.
You know, like
Exactly.
he has those thoughts, but he doesn't give in to them. And I respect that maturity to be a
If he had pulled
decent
Aaron aside in that
human
moment,
being.
and said, "What do you see in Tom anyway?"
Well, let's ask what you see in Tom, because this is how Steven, our pal, sees Tom. Tom talked most of the way. He always talked. It would have been wearisome if you hadn't been so amusing and relentlessly cheerful. I could see from the way Erin, walking in the surf with her sneakers dangling from the fingers of her left hand, looked at him that she was charmed and fascinated. I envied Tom and his ability to do that. He was heavy set and at least 3 doors down from handsome, but he was energetic and possessed the gift of gab I sadly lacked. All right.
Well, first of all, he's got gab.
Here's the thing, though. This is my hot take on this book. Tom probably should have been the main character because I was all those things when I was probably 60 pounds overweight, never got anyone. It was because of the fucking looks. The looks count. At this age, looks still count. So if Devin is a pretty good looking guy, I feel like this is
Does it ever say that though?
I feel like he's a pretty good look. I mean, Arnie is interested in him. You know,
I guess that's true.
Well, then again, it could be like a whole May December thing, but it's not really a May December thing because he's
No,
21
because
years
even
old.
like Annie's, I feel like Devin's probably a pretty good looking guy.
Yeah, so it's like I don't know. I think he had a chance here.
But he's got that kind of that wounded dog thing
Yeah.
going, right? Where it's
Yeah.
just like he's kind of, especially at the beginning, he's a little bit of a bummer to be around. And sorry, but especially when you're getting over your another girlfriend and you're clearly not over her, not very attractive. So
That's true. That
suddenly
is very
Tom's
true.
looking a little bit better.
But like when it comes down to just face value, hashtag Phil Collins, and you're looking at Devin and Tom, and yeah, he's a sad sap. Is there a part of you that wants to play like Nucky Thompson from Boardwalk Empire and be like, I can fix him?
Well, clearly
Yeah, I
Aaron
guess
is
that's-
attracted to Devin, obviously. But at the same time, look, she sees something in Tom,
Yeah.
and that's all that matters.
You know what I see in Tom? An asshole. I think he's a
what did
jerk.
this poor bastard ever do?
But
He
I
did
don't.
nothing wrong.
I don't like their rib dinner. When they're talking
What?
about either they have ribs or something like that.
That
like
sounds
before-
great to me. I would love to.
I would
go
love to have a
somebody's for
fucking
rib
rack
dinner.
ribs. Let me go to Bobby Rubino's. But the
Go to Chili's.
I love Chili's. But the
I
thing
mean,
is,
I don't. You know, everybody has their own tastes. Maybe
Exactly.
like slightly like dad bod guys are like Aaron's particular brand of kryptonite. You know, they say 3 doors
She
down.
Yeah.
was into dad bods decades earlier than the fat. I mean, this is what I'm talking about. She
It's
was
like a
ahead of her time. She's great.
it's a David Harbour thing.
Yes.
There you go.
You guys
All right.
didn't get my my 3 doors down joke.
I
was trying to run.
Just right past it. Just ignore
I
it.
was trying
Keep-
to
keep
run all the way to
walking, keep
Joyland.
going.
I guess I was a
And that's
loser.
coming from me, who only tells the worst jokes that have ever been composed in my own brain.
Well, you just missed my own 3 doors down jokes. I said I was a loser. Remember, like the song "Loser."
Oh, yeah, like
You're right.
I was gonna make a. I'll tell you what. I mean, they've played at
State Fair.
at state fairs, but the only place with like more weirdos is probably at the inauguration for Trump. Am I right?
You know, Devin probably just looked at himself and he just looked at Aaron and he just said, "It's not my time.
Yeah.
It's not my time."
Oh my God.
Well,
sad thing is,
with
so I'm
three
in
sheets
this.
to the wind on 3 doors down. At this point, I'll tell you.
I'm in this weird stage where maybe I'm a little bit like Devin, where I'm actually, or old Devin, where I'm like thinking back to things I used to be interested in. I'm not going to lie. I have listened to Creed's One Last Breath the last 4 times I've been in the shower. I think it's I still like the song. I still think it's good. I'm putting it here on tape. So,
Hey, one.
great song. Great song. Yeah. What's funny about Creed is I didn't realize how like religious they were, because when I would hear that song in America, I was like, oh, that song's not bad. And then I listened to Human Clay and I was like, oh, these guys are really religious. And then I went back to it, I was like, oh my God, this is like a pro-life song. Like, what the fuck is this about? Anyway, any other thoughts on
On Three Doors Down?
on Three Doors Down?
No.
I think Tom would be listening to Three Doors Down though, because the thing is that
this is unbelievable. This guy's warranted absolutely.
I think he's
No
out of
hatred.
line and being like, all right, back off, Devin. Like, I think it's, let Aaron make that decision. I think it's a little much. He's like sitting there eating his ribs, talking to Devin. He's like, oh, by the way, let's, leave this murder stuff away. And, even though Aaron clearly enjoys it. And I don't know, it's kind of a weird move. And if I'm Devin,
I think that Tom is deeply affected because he fucking saw the ghost.
I know that, but
Yeah.
he doesn't have to do the research. If you it's not like he's fucking hanging out with his girlfriend every day. I just think
he's
that,
traumatized.
yeah,
It
I don't know.
shifted his worldview, and he doesn't like it.
Much like Three Doors Down after 9/11.
Did they even have a hit after 9/11? I can't even remember. I feel
Who
like
the fuck
Kryptonite came out before the planes hit the towers.
Oh wait, they have a
okay.
song called "Citizen Soldier." So
Okay, Rachel is much like Aaron. She has discovered the truth.
Yeah,
going down a rabbit hole. I don't like it.
Oh,
yeah. All
Lord.
right. So do we
Luckily,
want
if I go on
to?
there, my internet will crash if I even look into this. So let's keep going.
Well, speaking of Three Doors Down, Three Rides Down, you got Lane Hardy. Did you buy the twist?
Twist.
Okay, here's the thing.
Well,
Let's
kind
just
of.
be honest.
Reveal?
This is why
For Devin, it's a twist.
yeah, the die, whatever. Okay, this is why, and I say this with this is not with affection. This is why I love Stephen King as a novelist dealing with drama, the supernatural, horror. He's not a great crime novelist. He's not. He's written some pretty good entries in the genre, but he talks about Agatha Christie. This is no Tin Little Indians. You know what I mean? This is not that. It's just kind of, I guess this is a crime story and I got to wrap it up somehow. And here's the
Poirot's
explanation.
not getting anywhere near Joyland.
I mean, which, no.
I wanted to bring this up, and maybe this is a good area to do it because we could also talk in conjunction with Annie and Mike. Might as well just toss them in there. But is this the beginning of that switch? We talked about this, his run from God since like maybe Doom McKee to the last book that we like 11/22/63. Maybe went through the keyhole because I haven't read Wind, but I hear I don't.
Full
I think
Dark
they
No
give it,
Stars. No, Wind Through Guild is really good too.
yeah. So is this the beginning of like, where he's going to start obsessing with like these powerful kids again? Because you go from here to Dr. Sleep, where you have Abra, who is absolutely just boring character because she does everything. And then you also have the Institute with all those kids. And then he does get obsessed with the crime elements. And you're right. Like, I think there is this, like, my biggest issue with a lot of the Holly books is that, especially with The Outsider and especially with If It Bleeds, is like, I love the stories. And then it gets to the ending and it just, especially the shape-shifting creature, I just never felt like he was able to do something compelling with it at the very end. But this book kind of does that, where it's like the mystery is interesting, and then when it comes time to get down to the brass tacks of things, it's kind of like,
Well, I mean, this is a hard case crime book, so I figured that he was deliberately writing this story to get it out of his system, and he was able to do it because he's going through this specific label, right, that deals with this. So for me, I felt like, oh, this is a fun little one-off. I didn't realize that this was going to dominate, like, what,
the last 10 years,
5 books in the last 10 years that he's kind of gone on this this detective modern noir deal, and to varying yet mostly mid effect, in my opinion.
well, without because we all have our opinions on it, because I clearly colored mine here, but this does feel like a crossroads book for him in his career, because I just see a lot of threads of where he's going after this. And I think you see it with the Annie and Mike character duo here. I think you see a lot of it with even the
Aaron.
Lanes and Aaron. Yeah. I mean, there just seems to be, this does feel like almost like a blueprint for what's going to come 10 years later. I just never thought Joyland was going to be that. But let's talk about Annie and Mike, because for me, I really like the character Annie. I don't like the character Mike. I think that's my issue with this, is that I think that if there's still connective tissue to the last run he's in, I think the romance that he builds between Annie and Devin has got some of the juice that he had with 11/22/63. Because I think I think a lot of it's very restrained in a very realistic way. I think it's delicately handled until maybe, I don't know, we'll just discuss the great scene.
We'll discuss the word delicate.
Yeah, seriously.
Indelicate.
Yeah. Where are you at with the romance? And
It kind of goes back to what Rachel was talking about at the beginning of the episode, with how he is with Annie and the understanding, right? What this is going to be. This is not the graduate situation, or I don't know, any other negative sexual situation you could get into. I do like this dynamic. Even, I'll put it this way: when it's interesting that you say that he had that image of the boy and a kite on the beach, right?
yeah,
Because once they enter the picture, it does feel like it's a new book.
it does.
It does feel like it's definitely a shift is happening. I like Mike to the point that there are definitely some very poignant moments when Mike is at the theme park
Yes, I agree.
that land.
Mm-hmm.
I do think that those work well. But it's like I said at the beginning. I mean, once again, we've got this. He sounds like he's 45 years old.
He does.
He sounds like he's a 45-year-old man.
Yeah.
I don't know what the deal is.
Well, yeah, but
What the
I mean,
deal is.
I do think that there's something to be said about a kid in this position, and just like, I mean, kids in general think and see things so weird,
Right.
like if you've had
And
a
he has to
conversation
shine, you know,
with a
so
kid, and like sometimes you're like, oh, that's very like astute of you to say that, or like that's weird. Okay. And I think that, you know, a kid knowing that they're gonna die basically is gonna have not the same fears necessarily as an adult would.
Mhm.
And so I think there is something there to be said about his maturity, because he is immature. So he's not going to give death the same weight as somebody who is more mature and actually understands everything surrounding that, you know, for better or for worse. But yeah, he's still kind of, I feel awful because he's
it's a fictional
dying.
character. It's okay. It's okay. It's all right.
Yeah.
This is, but we're literally saying this is the problem with
kind
the
of
way
annoying.
it's written. I think, you know, what actually Mike reminded me of it. I mean, we're really in it now. The girl in the Langoliers,
Yeah.
very
Yeah.
similar cadence and how they carry themselves.
You guys,
I want to point this out though, that I do find this strange, is that we're recording this the day before March Madness kicks off.
Yeah.
And this story takes place literally 50 years earlier,
Whoa.
because Annie tells Devin that Mike, when Annie calls Devin and says that Mike just passed away,
It's 74.
she says that, quote, he was talking about some big basketball tournament
yeah.
that was about to happen.
That's
And
creepy.
So that's creepy that we're recording
That's really
this, like,
creepy.
basically 50 years on the day of Mike's death in this story.
That is eerie. And I just said I don't like him. Actually, I did like him. No, he's great.
He loves basketball. I mean, God
I love the
bless him.
human elements of it. I mean, I'll be honest. I had tears at the end of this book.
Yeah.
It's
sure.
very touching. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that yeah. Oh, it also, for some reason, it just kept making me think of The Boy Who Could Fly.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Sorry. So
You want to talk about, they don't make them like they used to. I mean,
No.
Jesus Christ.
yeah, Nick Castle. Yeah.
Nick Castle, yeah.
It made me think of that for some reason, and maybe it is just that kind of like intentional, like trying to pull on your heartstrings, which I wasn't mad about.
I think he earns it. I really do. I think it's because of the relationship between Devin and Annie. And the only thing I would say with Annie, because the thing is I like about this is that it's very mature in the sense that we all, you know, much to our loved ones' chagrin, have others in our lives that we've, there was an emotion. There's a very tight, it's very real, very serious emotional connection. And it just, the elasticity just wasn't there. And so what I love about this ending is it does kind of remind me of like the before sunset, before sunrise sort of thing, where it's like they're back together for a moment. And obviously we know just because this is all told in the past tense, but it kind of has that you're going to miss that flight sort of vibe at the very end when the two of them are together. And I don't know, just there's a lot of nuance to that kind of love. And I think that's one of the reasons why the ending of this really hits hard, because it makes me wonder then, does Devin think about this story more because of the relationship he had to Annie, or because of what he experienced at the park, or is it the death of Mike? I would argue it's his connection with Annie is why he goes back to this story over everything else. And this is a lot to consider, because I think being bludgeoned by a fucking mass murderer on a theme park ride would be enough. But I do think he loses virginity to her, but even beyond that, there's this connection that it does feel like she's the one that gets him through everything.
Well, literally, she literally saves his life.
Saves his life. Yeah.
Here's the thing about this. Maybe I just reread it, but because he obviously kept in touch with Tom and Aaron. Mm-hmm. But after Mike's death, do they allude to them keeping in touch after this, or do they kind of just move on?
We just end at that moment. That's what's kind of it's
we
like
don't
very
know
selective.
If they kept in touch, right?
Yeah,
and I think there's something that maybe he was just remembering her and is wondering how she ended up and started writing the story.
Yeah, or just it's just not meant to be, because it sounds like he was planning on going back and like visiting, but then Mike dies, so he doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
Right,
and it's just kind of like, all right, the chapter is closed here. Like, we're just not. You would think that in some ways that would open the doors for at least like, hey, maybe someday we could get back together. But I think he's smart enough to know, like, nope, that would be too hard, too much. Like, we're
too hard,
here.
And also even Annie realizes, like, that was just never going to happen. I don't think. I think it was more just. I think the whole relationship is not purely based on romantic
to deal
romanticism.
with.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
she's got enough to deal with, and she's mature enough to know, like, I don't have the bandwidth for you.
Right.
I don't have the bandwidth for this relationship. Like, my life is my son, and when that's gone, that's going to be a whole thing in its own, and I'm not. That's all I can take. That's all I can do.
I mean, we mentioned the band earlier, but it's like Dave Matthews Band's "Say Goodbye." We'll go back to being friends. Anyway,
I think, all joking aside, relationships can be so tricky when it comes, especially with sex and literature or movies. I feel like it's always cut and dry. Like, these people are falling in love, they're having sex, but in this case, it's not that. It's more complicated than that. But despite all of it, when the years go on, you look back in your life, it's kind of like the two Jakes with Jake Geddes. And at the end, when Jack Nicholson says, "It never goes away."
You have to do it a third time.
Referenced that before,
you have to do it the third time. But
well, we'll see.
Well, we talked about this is the core cast. Do we really need to talk about like Roz and Fred and Mrs. Shapa? I just don't.
One though. I can say one thing about Roz, who's the psychic. So she gives that reading. She says, "In your future as a little girl and a little boy, the boy has a dog, the girl wears a red hat and carries a doll." There's so much, but that's what she says. But it's interesting that even the girl who has the doll, she chokes on a hot dog. And is saved by Devin in a dog costume. I thought that was interesting.
Lots of dogs. Yeah.
So the fortune should have been more about dogs. Like, the boy has a dog, the girl wears a hat and eats a dog and saved by a dog or something like that.
Yeah.
That's what I would have said.
Or like
if she was a real fucking psychic.
Or Dogs by Pink Floyd's playing in the background.
Sweet. I would love it. Great 17-minute song. Let's go.
Yeah. Was that before or after 1973 though? That's
right?
After
this.
It's after this.
Madame Fortuna would have known it was coming though. Psychic.
Like, you'll find a really cool psych rock band from the UK.
Okay, I promise you the only other note I have is that Bradley Easterbrook reminded me of the owner of the toy store in Home Alone 2, Lost in New York.
Oh, that's what I thought also. Oh my God.
Oh my God, that's so funny.
Here's 2 turtle doves.
And the last thing I promised is, you remember in I feel like I sound like Chris Farley, but the 11/22/63 episode I was on, I mentioned how dumb Jake's fake book Murder House, the title was. And I do find it funny that
It's
the name of the attraction where like the murder takes place is called Horror House.
yeah, Horror House.
It's like no cool
nothing.
name. Once again, it's
It's
like
not even like House of 1,000
Exactly.
Horrors.
it's just once again like Horror House.
Cool.
It's very boring.
Okay.
All of them
Did they
are
run out
though
of paint?
like
I
wax
don't know.
museum.
I thought that was very funny. Yeah,
Like-
wax museum
Well,
or I don't know.
I got a question. So,
Yeah.
speaking of those attractions and these themes, the theme park rides, what attraction would you want to work at, and which one would be your go-to? So we've got Annie
man.
Oakley's shooting gallery, we've got Horror House, we've got Mysterio's Mirror Mansion. That's actually a great alliteration.
first
That's
of all,
great.
that's a great name.
It's a great name.
Great alliteration is great.
We have Wax Museum.
But
All right. Couldn't even just go with House of Wax. Just do House of Wax. I know it's a movie,
know.
but come on. Surf Audition.
what does that mean?
Probably like you're on like a surfboard type thing, and it's like I've seen rides that do that. It's mostly in South Florida, but hey, it's close enough.
You're auditioning to get on the surfboard.
Well, it's like you have to hold on. It's almost like a rodeo.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah, I've been in like those water parks. Yeah, sure.
Carolina Spin,
No, absolutely not.
Madame Fortuna, Puppalicious, Wiggle Waggle Village, Park Services. I put Park Services on there.
I'm going to Doghouse. No.
Yeah, we're
Not
just
Wiggle Waggle Village.
I think we're all on the
hate
same
kitschy
page here, right?
names.
What's yours, Rachel?
Horror House.
Absolutely. Horror
Yeah.
House.
Come on.
Because every time I go, I'd be like, I couldn't call this something else.
just every patron.
Every
Like,
time, like,
It's like
It
you
also
know,
sounds too much like whorehouse.
it does.
And I don't like that.
Well, I've said it. I've had to change. When I was telling
think about
Sammy
it.
about it.
Well, listen, there's the best little whorehouse in Texas, and this is the best little horror house
Horror
in
house?
North Carolina.
I think I'd like to work at Park Services.
That sounds pretty rad.
Wouldn't?
You get to
Just
walk
people
around.
People coming to you with complaints.
Oh, yeah,
and
that's not-
having to
that's
fix
not good.
issues.
Yeah, I
and
don't
My
want
clean
that.
up.
daughter
You don't
vomited
want
all over
that.
my
Yeah,
shorts.
no, I
That's
take
the
it back.
last place you would.
Yeah, that's a wrap.
Yeah, what would be your go-to place? Is it still the Horror House?
Yeah.
The horror house.
Yeah, I like dark rides. I'm not. I mean, but you like roller coasters, Justin.
I do, but what's the roller coaster called in this again?
I don't think it's just Carolina Spin, but that's not
Ah,
really a roller
It's just
coaster.
a Ferris wheel, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's not. This is not a real deal. Like one of the good theme parks with the good
Yeah.
roller coasters.
Made by
think loser.
give me CEO's Bob Iger's vision.
But I will say this,
Um,
so I should make this concession that granted, I would love the horror house unless it's like the 8-minute Garfield nightmare.
Oh
ride.
yeah,
I
that'd
don't
be
want that.
awful.
I want
Because
3
then the
minutes and
line's
out.
really long. Yeah, I'm not big on the shooting stuff either. Like I don't really ever play games at carnivals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to
It's-
touch stuff, and I don't know. It's not.
No,
I mean, that's not the reason. I just want to ride rides.
It's kind of for me.
I
It's
do think Annie. Speaking of shooting,
Mhm.
it's kind of interesting how he makes a point. She's this champion shooter and like old like NRA person, but now she's like put her guns away. But ultimately, the guns end up saving his life. It's a little bit more middle of the road on this issue than I would expect from like more recent King.
Rachel, I've
Yes.
got that very same sentiment. Let's just say it's in our next section.
Okay,
Oh.
all right, yeah.
well, what section would that be? Our favorite book series by Paul Sheldon, Misery.
She died. She just slipped away.
Slipped away! Slipped away! She didn't just slip away! You did it! 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 You murdered my misery!
Annie!
All right, let's round robin this. These are our round robin sections. So, what was that section? Was it for Misery that you had, Justin?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
really just what Rachel said, and also the fact that it's placed into the book with about 50 pages left. That she's good with guns, and then she talks about it even more, like you said, Rachel. And I'm like, well, I have a feeling that she's going to shoot the killer. It's like, you want to talk about figuring out before we got there.
What's the
I mean,
Chekhov's
it's
gun?
just like, Detective Gerber's on the case.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's gonna happen here? So that was
Yeah.
a major plot contrivance.
I'm just now imagining you walking around looking like Arbogast from Psycho. Just like-
Arbogast.
Arbogast.
Let's say a fellow named Arbogast.
Arbogast.
Anyway, sorry. Go ahead.
You
That's the first one I've got. I guess not too many.
Rachel.
The hair dye
Mm.
is. I just felt like that was so forced, and also like, oh, this is the only time you've seen it like dripping down. Also, it's just gross to me.
Yeah.
Like, get some decent hair. Like, what is this? Like some cheap spraying like just for men shit. I guess it's 1973.
It's 1973.
But like, get some real hair dye. Like, why is this like rubbing off everywhere and pouring down your face? I felt like that was a little shoehorned in, and also I just found it gross to think about.
Yes. It's no Donald Westlake, whom the book is dedicated to.
Oh, he loves these crime.
Still dropping the knowledge.
What about just the exasperated laughter? As always, that just always kills me.
Oh, people
Like-
bowling over laughter. Yeah, it's
Oh
always
yeah,
good.
just
That's good.
ridiculous. Like, you know, the guy's giving his speech and everyone's just fucking losing their minds. It's like Wet Hot American Summer again. It's every
Next time you drive.
Next time, yeah.
I
What
think
else
once
you got?
again, like I said, some of the carnies were interchangeable for most of the book.
Yeah.
Like Freddie and Lane. Like I couldn't remember who was who. I had some problems, but even Eddie until Eddie got really focused on in the back half.
Yeah.
Also, like saving two people's lives. Like, I thought that was a little like he had to save two people. Like, I'm not necessarily sure. It just felt like it was almost like treading water a little bit. Like, I don't know. I don't know if it was necessary to. Like, I guess in some ways at the end, ultimately, I guess it was important with Eddie and saving his life, and Eddie being the one to tip off Mike and all of that. But
What's
like,
the
he just
dead
saved
zone?
a little girl, and now he has to
Yeah.
like save this kid too. I don't know.
It's in that sense, it does feel a lot like the Dead Zone, where he has to make it episodic, and it's like, all right, well, this is the This is going to be the stretch where it's going to lead to that, and then it's going to lead to this, and so in that way, I kind of saw it in that vein, but yeah, it did feel redundant. It kind of felt like, what is this guy, Jesus? You know, like, give me a fucking
Well,
break.
I know it sounds episodic, but I do think that there's definitely like a movie adaptation that can be made of this. I'm
I
surprised
agree.
it hasn't happened yet.
100%. I
Well,
think this would make a great movie if handled
Yeah.
right.
Well, the great creators over at Freeform had the rights for
that's
it for a
right.
while. So,
Okay.
but that was, you know, they put the kibosh on that. So I would still, actually, while reading this, I was like, this is the one I would love to adapt, because it's really not that hard to do. You just need to find a really good setting and like a good fare, really, and you could pull off the retro stuff easily, because most of those places look retro anyway. So it'd be a good one to do. But I'd want to lens it the exact same way that Jaws is lensed. So yeah, high it's a high watermark.
This sounds great, Mike. It's like, well, I want to use the exact same crew that Spielberg used on.
I do.
Jaws.
Yeah, even if they're like 90 or 80 years old now, they're like, what is? Why are we here? Any other misery?
I mean, I said my piece about children sound like they're my age.
Yeah. Well, where do you bury some children? In the cemetery.
What's the bottom of the truth?
Well, sometimes that is better. The person you put up there ain't the person that comes back. It may look like that person, but it ain't that person. Because whatever lives in the ground beyond that cemetery ain't human at all.
All right, we are here in the cemetery. It is creepy. It is crawly. Look, it's the cemetery. They buried Gage in the cemetery. So let's
not Mike though. He's scattered.
Not
across
Mike. Yeah.
the ocean. Oh, brutal.
How do you want to go? Do you want to be cremated or do you want to be buried? Let's go to that question now.
Cremated.
Yeah.
Not rotting away in the ground.
Cremated
Gross.
and dumped. I'm not sure where. Maybe that'll be a secret until I'm dead.
We're gonna
That'll be
strap
the
you
big
to a
reveal.
Jesus kite. You can
Like
float off
hashtag
into
Christ
the
kite.
wind.
I'd like to be cremated and then turn into a vinyl. So then I put at a used vinyl store and I could be like a franchise. So I could like a horror franchise. So like every person that takes me, I'll just haunt their house.
Okay, Mike,
Yeah,
but
no,
what
you
if,
can
what if that
play
was
it
arranged for
backwards
you?
and you can come back. Yeah.
I was going to say, what if the arrangement could be made, but it has to be in an anniversary of whatever the most recent Three Doors Down album is. Someone look that up. What's the most recent album called? I'd love to know. I'm sure it's great.
Or one of the Batman Robin soundtracks. Or
would you want the Batman
Forever?
Robin or would you want the Batman Forever soundtrack? Is the real question. That's the good.
I bet you like the Batman Forever soundtrack would be like in like cool neon green or something. So maybe that would
release
be
the
cool.
Schumacher cut.
Yeah.
I say.
Yeah.
What's the name of that Three Doors Down album? Now I have to know.
You can look that up.
Oh, you're not looking it up? I literally thought that you were actually looking it up.
I
Okay.
can't. I'm afraid to. I'm going to get kicked offline.
I probably should anyway, considering I have fucking Creed being recommended to me after Taylor Swift and Olivia Rodrigo. That's a fun bunch. Cemetery. Let's round robin this. Any what was some scary moments for you, Rachel? Are you? It looks like you're looking for one right now. So maybe
I've got them.
Oh, you got them.
I've got my color coded tabs.
Holy shit!
This is how you do a loser's club. Different
amazing.
colors for King's Dominion. Word
I
processor.
should totally do this. I don't know why I've never.
You know
done
what
that,
I do? I literally take, if I'm reading it on my phone, I'll screen grab the page on my phone, or I'll take a picture of it when I'm reading it, and I'll transcribe it all.
Oh my God, that must be such
it.
a long process for reading, though.
Oh, the tabs are easier.
You just keep going. You take a picture of it so you remember what that's going to be when you revisit it later on. So
I have a little code system. I have PC for pound cake. I have KD. I have HV. And then I
break it all down into sections.
Well, let's just say when I do the needful, when we did the Needful Things episodes, it wasn't really fun going through 500 fucking pages of all those things, but or more than that. God no. Anyway,
I got one.
Go.
This is when they're talking, when Aaron's talking about the murders, telling him all that. And she says, or Devin is speaking or whatever. It says, if you read a whodunit or see a mystery movie, you can whistle gaily past whole heaps of corpses, only interested in finding out if it was the butler or the evil stepmother. But these had been real young women. Crows had probably ripped their flesh. Maggots would have infested their eyes and squirmed up their noses and into the gray meat of their brains.
Oof, good.
It's just like, it's brutal, but it's true. We see these movies, we read these books, but I think he does a good job at making the point, like, these were real women, these were real girls, and like trying to give some weight to that.
Yeah, don't lose sight of that. Right. I think I've got something here.
Go for it.
Lane, his death scene.
Oof, yeah.
Lane, quote, was frozen in his crouch, his mouth ajar. Black dye ran down his cheeks. His eyes were rolled up so only the bottom half of the irises showed. Most of his nose was gone. One nostril hung down by his upper lip, but the rest of it was just a red rain surrounding a black hole the size of a dime. He sat down in the seat hard. Several of his front teeth rattled out of his mouth when he did. That's just such a grotesque sight.
It's really gross. Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought this was kind of creepy, but then reading it again, I'm just like, I don't really know. It's on page 120.
Stuff as it goes on, it's kind of creepy, but it is what it is. I mean,
I'm going to skip. I was going to read the one with Tom coming out, but I just don't really think it's actually that scary. I think this one actually is really.
The
creepy.
idea is scary, but I'm not sure if the actual writing is scary.
Yeah, it's on 144. It's when Dev goes. Yeah. Okay. So the light stayed on. No bloody shirt and gloves appeared beside the track, glowing spectrally. And when I came to what I felt sure was the right spot, just before the entrance to the torture chamber, there was no ghost girl holding her hands out to me. Yet something was there. I knew it then and I know it now. The air was colder, not cold enough to see my breath, but yes, definitely colder. My arms and legs and groin all prickled with goose flesh, and the hair at the nape of my neck stiffened. Let me see you, I whispered, feeling foolish and terrified, wanting it to happen, hoping it wouldn't. There was a sound, a long, slow sigh, not a human sigh, not in the least. It was as if someone had opened an invisible steam valve. Then it was gone. There was no more. Not that day. Like that's where it's when King leaves it to the imagination. It's always going to get me more than anything else.
I had that one marked too.
Any others?
Yeah, I just had one more. It's another Lane thing. It's the jump scare, right? It says, as the car rose into the worst of the storm, the lightning flashed again, and this time there was an accompanying crack of thunder, as if it had roused him. Perhaps it had. Lane lifted his head and looked at me, tried to look at me. His eyes had come back level in their sockets, but were now pointing in opposite directions. That terrible image has never left my mind and still comes to me at the oddest times. going through turnpike toll booths, drinking a cup of coffee in the morning with the CNN anchors baying bad news, getting up to piss at 3 a.m., which some poet or other has rightfully dubbed the hour of the wolf. He opened his mouth and blood poured out. He made a grinding, insectile sound like a cicada burrowing into a tree. A spasm shook him. His feet tap danced briefly on the steel floor of the car. They stilled, and his head dropped forward again. Be dead, I thought. Please be dead this time.
Oof.
You know what I like about that? King often has happy endings, but there's always something attached to it. I think about this. I think about the ending of like The Dark Half.
Yeah.
I think about even Rose Matter. I mean, the list goes on and on. Like there's always a consequence. Green Mile. There's always something that's going to linger. I mean, and this is another good example of that.
Yeah, the only one I had is actually kind of on that theme. Is with Eddie. It's on page 179. Okay, take care of yourself. And then Eddie says, he grimaced without opening his eyes. That's a laugh. How exactly am I supposed to do that? You got any ideas? Because I haven't. I got no relatives, no friends, no savings, no insurance. What am I going to do now? It'll work out, I said lamely. Sure, in the movies it always does. Go on, get lost. This time I was all the way out the door before you spoke again. You should have let me die, kiddo. He said it without melodrama, just as a passing observation. I could have been with my little girl. Ugh, just...
Yeah.
That's when he hits you with those reality punches.
Reality.
Like, fuck. Yeah. Any other cemetery?
The final Three Doors Down studio album was released in 2016 and it's called Us in the Night.
Oh, nice.
I mean, after Trump got elected, it's like they were like, "We've done it. What left is there to do? Let's go play off the big inauguration."
I didn't want to leave anybody hanging.
Yeah.
So.
After that,
Us in the Night. Interesting.
Us and the Critics it should have been called because that's all we are now. Well, that wasn't too bad of a joke, but it's certainly not one that anyone would write on the word processor of the gods.
And we're gonna make a new rule. Whenever I'm in here, you hear me typing. Whether you don't hear me typing, what the fuck you hear me doing in here, when I'm in here, that means that I am working. That means don't come in. Now, do you think you can handle that?
Yeah.
Fine. Why don't you start right now and get the fuck out of here?
I feel like we're gonna have a lot in here.
I'll go fast.
Yeah, let's each do two.
Okay.
If that tops. You go first.
It's the scene I was talking about earlier when the day he says goodbye to his father to go to Joyland. And it says, quote, 50 yards ahead of us, a doe had come out of the woods. She stepped delicately over one rusty GS and WM track and onto the rail bed where the weeds and goldenrod were so high they brushed against her sides. She paused there, looking at us calmly, ears cocked forward. What I remember about that moment was the silence. No bird sang. No plane went droning overhead. If my mother had been with us, she'd have had her camera and would have been taking pictures like mad. Thinking of that made me miss her in a way I hadn't in years. I gave my father a quick, fierce hug. I love you, Dad. I know, he said. I know. When I looked back, the deer was gone. A day later, so was I. That's great. It's great.
Yeah. Rachel.
One of mine is pretty early, page 26. He says, I already knew what my future was going to be. Writing novels and the kind of short stories they publish in The New Yorker. I had it all planned out. Of course, I also had marriage to Wendy Keegan all planned out and how we'd wait until we were in our 30s to have a couple of kids. When you're 21, life is a roadmap. It's only when you get to be 25 or so that you begin to suspect you've been looking at the map upside down, and not until you're 40 are you entirely sure. By the time you're 60, take it from me, you're fucking lost.
I had that too.
So good.
Yeah.
This is more of a tattoo line than, I mean, it's great writing, but it's the kicker that's amazing. It's on page 42. I took out my checkbook, scribbled, and by doing so, rented a one-room apartment with the charming ocean view that Wendy Keegan, my lady friend, never got a chance to sample. That room was where I sat up some nights with my stereo turned down low, playing Jimi Hendrix and the Doors, having those occasional thoughts of suicide. They were sophomoric rather than serious, just the fantasies of an over-imaginative young man with a heart condition. Or so I tell myself now, all these years later. But who really knows? And this is the one that we would get as a tattoo. When it comes to the past, everyone writes fiction. Like that is such
Yeah.
a good fucking line. Like
I've got
that's
that too.
such yeah.
Got
I
that
do
too.
too.
Love it. All right, you go next.
God, there's so many. I'm trying to.
I know, there's a lot.
Here. There's some really great prose in this book. Devin writes, talking about his father. At the time, I thought it was because he was a bit jealous of Wendy's place in my life. Now I think he saw her more clearly than I could. I can't say for sure. We never talked about it. I'm not sure men know how to talk about women in any meaningful way.
Yeah, it's so that I have that one too.
That was pretty good. That
Yeah.
was pretty good. Uncle Steve.
Rachel.
Yeah. Okay. Even before her shoulders slumped and the sobs started, I understood. It wasn't the fear that I'd stick him on some crazy fast ride and the burst of adrenaline would kill him. It wasn't fear that a stranger would steal the damaged heart she loved so well. It was a kind of atavistic belief, a mother's belief, that if they never started doing certain last things, life would go on as it had. Morning smoothies at the end of the boardwalk, evenings with the kite at the end of the boardwalk, all of it in a kind of endless summer. Only it was October now, and the beach was deserted. The happy screams of teenagers on the Thunderball and the little kids shooting down the splash and crash water slide had ceased. There was a nip in the air as the days drew down. No summer is endless.
I had that one too. That's a great stuff. God, there's so many. I'm trying to think.
I know. I was
Yeah,
trying to
there's
figure out which one.
because like we could all just agree the ending is incredible. I don't need to read the whole ending, but the ending is really great stuff. So I'll pick out a shorter section, but it's when Mike enters the park for the first time. Did you have? I can't remember. Did we read that?
I
earlier?
don't think I have that part, Mike.
Okay.
Mine, so.
All right. 220. I remember Mike's day at the park, Annie's day too, as if it happened last week, but it would take a correspondent much more talented than I am to tell you how it felt or to explain how it could have ended the last hold Wendy Keegan still held over my heart and my emotions. All I can say is what you already know. Some days are treasure. Not many, but I think in almost every life there are a few. That was one of mine. And when I'm blue, when life comes down on me and everything looks tawdry and cheap, the way Joyland Avenue did on a rainy day, I go back to it. If only to remind myself that life isn't always a butcher's game. Sometimes the prizes are real. Sometimes they're precious. Oof.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
I got that one too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did too. I
So-
I didn't mark it, but I wrote it down, and he has a lot of good, very short little things here. And when he says kids are such a risk, it's like,
Yeah.
yes. Yes.
He's-
I do want to point out that there's an allusion to a Gene Hackman movie where he plays a tough cop with a foot fetish.
Oh.
Yeah.
You know what this is about?
French Connection?
It is.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's the joke, picking your feet in Poughkeepsie,
Yeah.
that cops say to confuse people they're interrogating. That's all I have to say about that.
Well, you guys hungry?
I'm starving, to be honest with you.
Well, let's get some pound cake.
After all you've been taught,
Everyone in bed, Mama. Everything in the sin.
come to your closet and pray, ask to be forgiven.
He's a nice boy, Mom. You like him. You really like him, Mama.
A blunt seg, but works nonetheless. Round robin, this one. I mean, yeah, just round robin. Let's see what we got. Let's see what we came up with. Got creative.
If you're not, dear
there's
boy,
plenty
I've
of
got
there.
a few.
Yeah. Rachel, you seem ready. You want to go for yours first?
I'm ready.
All right.
I was smiling, but below the belt I was feeling a familiar throb. Sometimes Wendy would relieve that throb. She'd become quite expert at what we used to call a through-the-pants job. But I didn't think this was going to be one of those days.
The old through the pants job.
Yeah.
She was standing straight with her chin raised. Sweat had molded the shirt to her. And she had great breasts.
I know. I had that too.
Hey, you didn't call them jahoobies. So,
No.
Yeah, I wish you
this
said
is
jahoobies.
This is a
God,
classy book, guys.
I know. This is not. This isn't your smut.
This is trademark 1122 pound cake.
Oh, oh, here it comes.
It's
I know
on-
exactly what you're doing.
247. She put her Coke aside and studied me. She was wearing the little smile that put dimples at the corners of her mouth. You've had seconds. I don't suppose you'd be interested in thirds. I put my own Coke down beside the bed. As a matter of fact, she held out her arms.
End of chapter 2
Yeah.
as well. It's so good.
It's so good.
Definitely highlighted that. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Who's next?
I've got one just a little before that.
Yeah.
244. It wasn't just the once, and that was lucky for me because the first time lasted, I'm going to say 8 seconds, maybe 9. I got inside, and that much I did manage, but then everything spurted everywhere. I may have been more embarrassed once, the time I blew ass trumpet while taking communion at Methodist church camp. But I don't think so.
I had the ass trumpet as well.
Yeah.
It's the combo of the
Good.
spurted and the ass trumpet is really just chef's kiss.
There's no way that he can go without making a scatological reference or joke in any book. And I did think it was funny on page 73. Christ, you're a big one, Dottie said. Thank God I got the extra large mended last week. The last kid who wore it ripped it out under both arms. There's a hole under the tail too. He must have been eating Mexican food.
Oh,
It's
Jesus.
disgusting.
Disgusting.
Like, but he loves these jokes.
I know.
Like he just absolutely lives for them.
I got one last one.
Yeah.
What I know now is that gallant young men rarely get pussy. Put it on a sampler and hang it in your kitchen.
All right, LeBay.
LeBay. You have any more? I mean, we probably do. No,
That's all I got.
Yeah, there's on page 70. There's a cooch joint. He mentions page 95. Considerable breastworks is another one I thought was a funny description, and then ass cleavage on 129.
How did I miss ass cleavage? That's a good one.
Yeah, it's fun. But I don't know about you, but I'm hearing the twinkling bells. Their signature little place we call King's Dominion.
There's another world out there. I know there is.
All right, round robin. What connections did we see to King's larger world? Justin?
I've got a couple there, and once again, blow your mind.
It's good. You have some numbers here. Is that what
you know it, brother?
Oh.
I will say again. I mentioned this earlier, but is it a coincidence that there's a major character alluded to named Wendy in this book that does call back to The Shining?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
It's the first major Wendy character since The Shining. I'm sure there's been a character
Yeah.
since, but feels like it's not. The answer. Anybody else?
Rachel.
Oh, well, also you just mentioned Tubular Bells, and just want you to know that album is from 1973. So good job.
Oh, wow, interesting.
Sweet.
That was intentional for sure. No, for some reason I was listening to that in the shower today, and I was like, "What are you doing?" Like
you had to chase it with the good old Christian creed.
I did.
That's what you were doing.
Yeah,
Getting in the zone. On page 135, he makes a reference to, I used to do most of my first draft writing on yellow legal pads.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah.
Go for it. No, you go for it. Go for it.
Upon returning to the fake office that Dev and his classmates would use to make out in, when he returns to it years later, he reads the following inscription. Quote, Professor Nako now teaches at the Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. Of course, the Harry Potter stories play a role, specifically in Wolves of the Calla.
They do.
Oh, yeah.
I thought this was interesting, and it makes it feel even more like a spiritual sequel. On page 52, he talks about how there was a deer that he saw. And then there was like 50 yards ahead of us, a doe had come out of the woods. She stepped delicately over one rusty GS and WM track and onto the railbed where the weeds in the golden row were so high they brushed against her sides. She paused there, looking at us calmly, ears cocked forward. What I remember about that moment was the silence. No bird sang, no plane went droning overhead. If my mother had been with us, she'd have had her camera and would have been taking pictures like mad. Thinking of that made me miss her in a way I hadn't in years. And then later on, he says, "When I looked back, the deer was gone."
Yeah, that's what I read for Word Processor of the Gods. Yeah,
yeah. It's just, but that it's the whole thing. It's the scene with Gordy, which is in the body where he sees the deer and then he never mentions it ever again to someone.
You know what else it is?
You go ahead, Rachel. I think we're on the same page.
It's his Patronus, just like Harry Potter.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
and that's his mom.
Yeah,
the doe,
that's
just like
crazy.
Harry Potter's mom. And Devin is talking about his mom and the.
Oh,
So
wow.
you go with that, Mike.
Okay.
I thought you were going
No.
It's a
that
crazy
just
one,
clicked
too,
for both of us.
Yeah,
It's
I
my
think about the
favorite.
Gordy
It's my
thing.
favorite part of both Stam and me and the body. So I was like kind of
So
blown away.
wild.
I was like, wow, So I
Multiple
imagine
connections.
he probably was leaning more on the Harry Potter aspect.
that's
of
Well,
it.
I mean, she probably stole it from him, so it's
Yeah,
all
that's-
all
yeah.
goes
No
full
question about
circle.
Any others?
What type of shirt does Devin wear to work?
Oh,
A blue chambray
Yeah, that's right.
work shirt.
That's right.
yeah.
When Eddie is talking about his daughter's death, he said, "Yeah, she got hit by a car. 3 years old she was, and died like a dog in the street." Sounds
Sounds like
familiar.
Cujo.
Well, Gage.
Cujo.
Sounds like Gage.
Sounds like it.
You go for it.
Where does Easterbrook head in the off season?
Oh,
I forget.
Is it Clearwater?
Sarasota. Yeah.
Sarasota. Oh, yeah. Okay.
Oh.
Which is where he's.
part-time residence, and of course, more importantly, where I was born.
Oh, how about that? And were you a big fan of Sarasota or no?
I remember very little. I
Yeah.
moved when I was like 3 or 4.
Yeah. Inside View is mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
It's the Night Flyer,
Mhm.
and also
Dead Zone,
Dead Zone. Yeah.
and many other things too. I'm
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
I can't remember. Are you seated? Or Rachel,
yeah.
do you have another one?
Oh.
Yeah, I've got more.
Oh, go ahead.
go for
Go
it.
ahead.
Page 267. Did your mother put a clothespin on your pee when you went wee wee in the corner?
Dead Zone.
Also, I think they in 11/22/63.
Yes.
too.
Yeah. And also, I believe.
Oh yeah, you're right. I didn't think about that.
I believe that's in Red Dragon also.
Oh.
For Dollarhide, maybe.
Tough beat for all those killers.
Yeah, it's always they turn out great though.
Yeah, they're fun.
Okay, what else?
Team Corgi.
Yes,
Oh yeah, you're right.
Molly.
Molly. It's Molly's Dominion.
Thing of Evil.
There was Clint's Dominion on 263. Talks about Dirty Harry. Thought that was fun.
Yep. Yeah, I thought of you.
Yeah.
No Bronson discussion. I can
No
remember.
Bronson.
Nope,
Except
not
for the
yet.
mom being a crack shot at the gun. All right. You ready?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do some. I remember earlier when I said I can only count to 4 with freshman, sophomore, junior, senior. I was lying.
Lying.
'Cause I've got some numbers for everybody here.
Oh shit.
When Aaron is talking about the dates of the victim's death, the first victim died on August 31st, 1961. So if you broke that down into like brackets or whatever, it's 8 plus 3 plus 1 plus 6 1 plus 6 plus 1. Sorry. Equals 19.
Jesus Christ.
The second victim died on August 2nd, 1963. So if you break that down, it's 8 plus 2 plus 6 plus 3, which equals 19.
Wow.
You guys also for August 31st, 1961. That's my dad's birthday.
Oh.
Oh my God.
Is he
Reeves,
still-
not Reeves, Reeves Dominion.
Reeves Dominion.
That's right.
Well, as always, good job, John Nash.
Oh, you're very welcome. I do my very best to get these numbers down, and it's a pleasure. It's an honor.
I'm gonna
Thank you
go
very much.
walk and open my window and tell the people to stop working.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah,
I
Rachel, go
had
for it.
one where Lance is talking like his little remote gadget. And he says, "I'm very interested in those things. They're the wave of the future." That's what I think. It reminded me a lot of Mr. Mercedes and Brady and his
Oh my
remote
God.
gadgets.
Speaking of clothespin dicks, sure Grady went through that too. Or Brady did.
That's and like Mr. Mercedes, he's like $2 removed from it. So
I know.
Or
See,
away
it's like
from it.
those. It's like, oh, I was thinking.
And things only got better
Yeah.
with the novel Mr. Mercedes.
Yeah.
Can't wait.
What did I have? Why did I have number 88 there? I don't know. Anyway, lots of. I feel like the shine is all throughout this.
Yeah. Yeah. Obviously.
I don't think there's. Oh, the idea of setting her free, I felt was very Dr. Sleep-esque, but I talked about that earlier on. He mentions the New Yorker, and the writers those type of writers seems like a biting his thumb at that. But it's also funny because most of the short stories, I think it's Everything's Eventual. I can't remember were from the New Yorker, so there's a connect there. That's all I got. I think
That's all I got.
Yeah. Well, I think after 3 hours, we're due to give our final thoughts.
Dad, can we go now?
You ready?
Yeah, we've been ready for an hour.
Okay, I'll be right there.
You said that a half hour ago. Yeah, my dad's weird. He gets like that when he's writing.
All right, let's nose it. Rachel, start with you.
Yeah. Joyland is a book that has really grown on me. I'm really happy that I was able to revisit it again. And again, I cannot encourage you enough to listen to Michael Kelly do the audiobook. His voice is perfect for this.
I love Kelly. Yeah.
And you know what? I do love a good mystery and especially love a good ghost story. But I think what I love most about this book, like I've said, it's just kind of the way it captures that liminal, fluid space between adolescence and childhood. That time when, you know, the harsh realities of life kind of really set in and you realize that your dad was right when he told you, you know what, life isn't fair. And it captures, you know, that time when you're old enough to admit that you don't in fact know it all and your life might not just play out the way that you had planned. And not that that's a bad thing, but it's just something, a realization I think everybody has to come to on their own time and their own terms in different ways. And that's a tough thing to capture, but I think he captures it really well here. And, you know, I think that this is a timeless story in a lot of ways. Mm-hmm. And yeah, it takes place in 1973, but these are kind of just cold, hard truths that everybody's going to have to go through no matter what decade it takes place in. And, you know, it just, yeah, I've liked revisiting this and will probably continue to, and would love to see a proper, good adaptation of it, but it's not perfect. I do think that there's some things that could be a little bit better, and who knows, maybe if we get that adaptation, some of that'll get worked out. So ultimately I land on 4 bright red Pennywise clown noses.
Justo.
I've had my criticisms throughout a little bit, especially with some of the supernatural elements. They have to be so involved into the story. Mike sounds like he's my age. Is the resolution of the mystery great? I don't know. But what's more important is everything else that's going on in the story. I think once again, King captures a terrific coming of age, like Rachel's coined, a phase 2 coming of age in a lot of ways. And I think the best way to sum this up is when the movie Adventureland was being promoted, it was very much presented to us like this was going to be another super bad movie. Mm-hmm. So if you went into Adventureland and you watched it, and you walked out disappointed that it wasn't like super bad, you're probably not going to like this book. But if you're pleasantly surprised with what you found, then I think you will enjoy Joyland. So I'm going to give this, I can't give it a 4 because that's like where I've got like Salem's Lot. So I've got to go, I got to give Joyland, I'll give it 3.5 out of 5 though. It's definitely a good read. It's a quick read. And what can I say? I recommend the book Joyland.
Like I mentioned at the top, there's a lot of hype going to this book, and I think for the most part the read delivered upon that hype. Like King, I really loved being in this world, especially this time period. This is basically the year I would time travel back to if I had a choice, to just be able to experience all the 70s and the culture at the time. Just incredible. I mean, think about it, The Exorcist comes out this year, fucking great.
Merry Christmas.
I'm still on the fence, like you were saying, Justin, of the supernatural aspects. I don't know if King feels as if adding the supernatural elements is his way of having a signature over the hard case crime books, but I just don't think you need it. I don't think, obviously it's built on that, but I think in this case, it's almost distracting. And also the way Mike is another unique kid in King's Dominion, it kind of takes away the uniqueness of this book. Especially knowing Dr. Sleep is coming up, which is definitely why I mentioned the what if earlier on, of them combining the two. But here's what I'll say. The landing is just superb. Mm-hmm. And you can make the argument, and we have, that the supernatural does connect to, larger spiritual themes at hand. And that's kind of the thing. I was tweeting about this a week ago or whatever, whenever I finished this. And it's the hot take I keep saying all the time, is that I just think King is just too damn good at bruising our hearts. He's done it every time we ever dovetail into the more dramatic flair. He's done it from the get-go. I think we've been talking about this for 7 years now. And And so that is my hot take at the end of the day, is just that I think he's better at drama than horror. I think like when he wants to turn on wants to get our tears, he gets them. And granted, he's really fucking good at scaring us too. I'm not going to dismiss that at all. I mean, that's his bread and butter. But I think that when he wants to go and give us that, when he wants to shatter our hearts, he's really good at doing that. And I think in the case of Joyland, I think this book does benefit on being in the afterburner of 11/22. And I found myself truly moved by the end of this. And that feeling did leave me with 4 Pennywise clown noses. But I do think after discussing it today, probably between 3.5 to 4. But it's really fucking good. Like when it's good, it's really good. And I love the Adventureland analogy that you just mentioned with Superbad. It's like, that's perfect way of summing it up. But I do think that for diehard constant readers, I could see why this is a favorite too, because it has all the elements. It has all of his elements. So,
I'm sorry, I have to make a point here too.
Yeah.
I made a huge error earlier. I said I gave this 3.5 out of 5. I meant to say I gave it 3.5 bright red Pennywise clown noses.
Oh, it's okay. I just said stars by accident.
Oof.
So I mean,
oh my God,
we don't do that shit.
Oh,
not here.
What is this?
Sorry. Well, Mrs. Shoplaw is calling. Checkout was a few hours ago, and she's already anticipating the next youngsters to take on Joyland. I think they're due here in a few hours, so it's time to giddy up. But before we go, let's tell our constant listeners where we're going next. Rachel, what's up on Girls and the Boys and your own editorial life?
Yeah, so over on the Girls and the Boys, Jen and I, we just had a special guest that some of you constant listeners may be familiar with. We had a Mr. Mac Gerber swing by to talk about the episode Herogasm over on the Boys.
Oh, that's such
a big episode. Yeah.
Big episode, so that was great. So if you're a fan of the Boys or just want to hear us talk about so far the best episode of the Boys to date, you can tune in and you can hear that over on the Anatomy of a Scream Pod Squad. And then editorial wise, I have some interviews cooking and coming up, and so follow me on socials and I will be sharing and posting everything there.
Nice. Justin, what can our listeners expect from all of us here at the Halloweenies?
Yeah. Oh my God. So for March, we've got multiple episodes covering Alien 3 that are, by the time you listen to this episode, 1 may be out, 2 may be out, maybe all 3 are out, maybe even more. Who knows? And in addition to that, we also have on our Patreon, which is at patreon.com/HalloweeniesPod, a commentary for the great film Leprechaun 2, as well as a big breakdown of, is it Brad Anderson?
It's Brad Anderson. I always think it's Henderson by accident,
I know.
But no.
And his movie Session 9. And on the main feed, Rachel was on this episode. We returned to a series we introduced last year in which the trio of panelists discuss a new movie from 2024 that they watched, and an older movie that they watched for the very first time this year, in a series that we call
Now Showing.
And I totally forgot. I forgot the name of it. I think I came up with the premise, but I forgot.
To be fair, we really do lean in these names, and it's like, even when I write them, like, oh yeah, the rental.
And I think it had been like 5 months since we did that episode, so there you go.
It's been a while. Yeah,
there you go.
Well, for us, we, as I mentioned, at this point, we are halfway through our big book run after spending the first 2 months of the year catching up on miscellaneous King content. I had a lot of fun catching up on all the content. I think it allowed some variation. We had to take some time off. Sorry. We did like fucking 8 episodes on 11/22/63. Yeah. You think we're going to come into the year just going in and be like, all right, here's Wind Through the Keyhole? No, we need a break. And I think we had a good one. So if you missed some of that, I mean, we were churning out different pieces of media every week. And I imagine it was hard to watch the 3 hours of Salem's Lot and then go right into like Tales of the Dark Side, all this other shit. So that's all there. But right now, what you have looking forward to is an incredible 50th anniversary of Carrie. I believe you're on that one, Rachel, right?
I am.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
No boys allowed.
No boys allowed.
Wait. Actually, I think Randall's on it. I'm sorry.
No, he's not. I don't think he's on it.
He's not.
I think it's Jen. you,
Yeah, Jen,
Mel,
me, Mel, and Ashley.
and Ashley. Yeah.
Oh, Mel's on. Wow.
Yeah. So that's going to be our first Twinner rep, our first and only for this year. I'll say that. I don't think if everyone's like, oh wait, they're already going around. When are we? I don't want anyone in April or May to be like, where's Salem's lot? Well, it's not coming yet. So
yeah, 50th anniversary.
Wait till January 2025.
Yeah, just chill.
Pretty much.
Just chill. And then we're gonna be reissuing our Dr. Sleep episode, which we recorded in 2019. And we've got more stuff. I mean, we just dropped a Firestarters episode in our patreon.com/thebarons, where you can hear all of the great Stephen King hot takes from our listeners. And then we've got another month ahead of us. We still have the plan. So stay tuned to our socials, Losers Club Pod or Losers Club Podcast, wherever you search for it, you'll find us. Until then, though, start reading, keep reading, constant listeners, especially if you plan to stay along the beam with us over long days.
And
pleasant.
And nice.
I got some hot friends. God, I got some hot friends. I got some hot friends. God, I got some hot friends. But you know you want somebody to treat you good.
Although my namesake happens to take place fairly close to Kennywood, the theme park that was used in Greg Motola's Motola? We're going to go with Motola.
It's Greg Mottola, by the way.
Greg Mottola? Okay.
Yeah,
cool.
you got it right.
All right. Motola. What a dumb name. All right.
Greg Mottola.
Jesus. All right. Let me try it again. Whew.
This is the end of our show. For now. We hope you enjoyed this production. If you like our programming, consider searching for other bloody disgusting podcasts, such as Creepy, Horror Queers, The Boo Crew, SCP Archives, Nightlight, Margaret's Garden, and more.